I unplugged the microphone and plugged it back in. I unplugged the microphone and plugged it back. Okay, there we go. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I just unplugged it and plugged it back in, and now we're fine. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So. Oh, wait. So, boys. Yeah, I heard how it sounded. Again, like I tried to say earlier, I wish I could come to all of you under better circumstances. I wish I could come to you under better circumstances, but I've heard some things about this video that I don't know, man. I don't know. It's getting my blood boiling a little bit. It's getting my blood. Look, again, I haven't watched it yet. In fact, this is a long-ass fucking video. We're going to put this in 1.15 speed. Yeah, let's just say I've heard some things about this video. Listen, I was gonna make a video today. I had this whole video planned today that I wanted to make, and it was going to be really good. But my Discord told me, basically every single person in my Discord told me, Shay, if you make this fucking video, there's no coming back. So I didn't make the video. They were like, Shay, if you make this video, everybody's going to abandon your channel forever, and no one's going to watch you. So we're doing this instead today. The video was going to be about how, before Charles got knocked out by Ilya, he was going to win the judges' scorecard. Was going to be the video. He was going to win on the judges' scorecard prior to getting knocked out. That was going to be the video. And they told me, yeah, my Discord was like, Shay, don't make that fucking video. Shay, please don't make that video. They're like, please don't make that fucking video. Are you not covering Holloway versus Dustin? John Wings, let's just say a certain video has already been sent to DraftKings Sportsbook, and I'm just waiting on the AOK, and we'll get that posted. Oh, Juan, thank you for the $2. Thank you, Juan. Add me in the Discord, Life of Juan. I'm a member. Can somebody in chat, can Tyler, can you get him in there, please? I'd really appreciate it, Tyler. Yeah, that would have been insane, Cope. I'm just kidding. That wouldn't have been the video. I'm just kidding. But that video will come out, but it just had a later date. Chat was saying that we're just not ready for it yet. Man. But yeah, so look, I've heard a lot of things about this video. I'm nervous to watch it. I'm just going to give it just a couple more minutes. People are piling in here. We'll start in about 3 minutes. Steve Spyro, thank you for 1 month of being a member. Me and Shay, Steve, dude, yeah, I agree. In fact, I think now that Charles Oliveira is dead and he's 6 feet underground, I think we need to become the Steve Spyros fan club. Who's with me? Who's with me, chat? We're the fucking Steve Spyros fan club these days. Yeah, I don't know. Look, I've been seeing a lot of people been spoiling it a little bit. I don't know, man. All I know is I've heard a few things about this list, and I'm scared. Jim, what kind of fucking question is that? What kind of fucking question is that? Hi, Lagler. Good to see you guys. Good to see all of you. Good to see all of you guys. All right, fuck, I guess we're ready to get started. Here we go. I'm nervous. I'm genuinely a little scared to start this video. Let me just expand my my screen a wee bit. Let me just expand my screen a little bit. It's been a long time since we've watched a Lucas Tracy video on stream. It's been a long time, man.
The top 50 greatest MMA fighters of all time. The most exclusive list in mixed martial arts.
Wow, this video, first of all, is edited. That's surprising. This is edited. Oh my God, praise son, thank you for the 10 PLN. Here's some Polish money. Dude, I really appreciate that, man. Thank you. You're helping pay for all this shit going on with my fucking teeth right now. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you, praise son. I love you.
Changed. With MMA being such a young sport, things are always changing. All-time greats that graced fans' top 5 for years are being passed up all the time. As their records are broken, fighters move up and down the GOAT list like chutes and ladders. New gen fighters facing better levels of competition. This is not going to be your conventional GOAT list. What is up, guys? My name is Lucas, and I am fortunate to have the task ahead of me.
Does Lucas have to introduce himself in the first place? Does he have to introduce himself? It's like, dude, we all know who you are, man. We all know who you are. I will say, I don't like what's going on with the hair. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers, I guess.
Of being able to rank the top 50 greatest mixed martial artists in the history of our sport. This is no easy task, and so therefore I'm treating this with the utmost respect. And I've spent the last couple of days really doing research and comparing different fighters' resumes to see who is going to rank higher.
Oh my God, Kitty, thank you for joining the Charles Oliveira fan club. I'm really sorry that I accused you of being fake and being a bot. I'm sorry about that. After our little back and forth on that last stream, I can wholeheartedly say you're a real person. I can wholeheartedly say you're a real person. Beretta 9000, you might be new around here. Do not have any sexually explicit messages to any person in chat in particular. If you do that again, your ass is banned.
Now, I will be honest, it is very difficult to differentiate fighters that are not going to be in like the top 20. And so once we're done with our top 30, I'm going to include about 20 honorable mentions that I believe are
20 fucking honorable mentions? God damn.
Good enough to be top 50, but just not good enough to be top 30. And because it would take forever to differentiate between their resumes because things are very competitive when you get that high in the list, I'm going to do the 31 through 50 in no order. And right before we get into this, let me just break down
Okay, good.
Criteria.
We have some criteria.
Number 1, the most important thing, quality wins. The strength of resume of the people that you have beaten. That is the best way to determine how good.
Tyson Tom, thank you for the $2.80 Canadian cents. Just in time for the goon sesh. I mean, you know it, man. My penis is out right now as we're watching this fucking video. Is my pen here? I wanna write down this criteria so we can really hold him to this. I wanna really keep track of this. All right, number 1. Quality of wins. I agree. Quality of wins. Yeah, I don't mind that.
The fighters' wins are. And ultimately, I think that the best fighters on the planet have to have beaten the best fighters on the planet. And the only way to determine that is what have those fighters done? What did their opponents accomplish in their career? So that is the most important criteria. Number 2. Ratio.
So he says, though, how he's measuring quality of wins is based on accomplishments, okay? Fair enough. Based on accomplishments. See, I feel like this is where it gets really messy with lists like this because, I mean, technically, Anderson Silva probably has, you know, based on most fighters, an insane amount of accomplishments. But he fought during a different time. You know what I mean? I don't think the guys he fought were nearly as technical or skillful as they are today. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about losses.
That. You can have some incredible quality wins, but if you've picked up a ton of losses throughout your career and you haven't necessarily established that you were dominant and that while you were in your prime, nobody was able to mess with you, I mean, that's going to hold you back a little bit. So again, if you are one of these fighters that has some decent quality, but while you were in your prime, nobody was beating you, that is going to be really important as well. Number 3, this is going to be a big factor in determining who's higher and who's lower when we get really high up in the top 10, in the top 5. That is, who have you lost to, and are they one of the GOATs as well? Because if we have 2 fighters that have a bunch of quality wins and a good amount of quantity wins, and that's my 4th criteria, by the way, quantity of wins. You have to have a lot of wins in order to be the GOAT. You can't.
This is my. I have not watched anything, Aaron T. I have not watched
single
anything.
One of them is against another GOAT. But either way, let's say all things are equal, except for both fighters have 2 losses, but one guy lost to 2 GOATs and the other guy lost to people that weren't that amazing. That's going to be the deciding factor to determine who's better.
So just based on what he just said right there, I can already tell that GSP is not going to be... he's definitely not the GOAT. Probably not even 2 to 5. You know what I mean? Just because of what he said right there.
May wonder, what about title wins? What about title defenses? I do not believe that title defenses are that important. I ultimately think it comes down to who have you beaten. There are plenty of fighters that have title defenses against people that aren't that amazing. Whereas you have number 1 contenders or people that are ranked number 5 that have taken out 3 other ranked fighters that have really awesome resumes that are, better quality wins. And so ultimately all that matters is, what's the resume of the person you beat look like? Okay?
I don't mind that, to be fair. I actually really don't mind that logic. I actually think that's very, very solid. I think that's very, very, very solid. Let's see. I missed something. Oh my God, Tyson Tom. Thank you, brother. I'm going broke because of Shay's OnlyFans. I'm glad you like it. I've been putting out a lot of stuff on there. If you guys want to subscribe to my OnlyFans, right now all I have is just a picture of my balls. If that's what you're interested in.
Okay. And it was a lot easier for fighters to defend their title.
Tyler, can you add Kitty to the Discord, please? Thank you. I really appreciate it, Tyler. You deserve a raise.
Modern era fighters have to win like 10, 11 fights to even fight for the belt to begin with. And so by the time they get there, they've already beaten a bunch of ranked fighters. And those ranked fighters are essentially the same kind of guys that champions are beating to defend their title. So title defenses, it doesn't mean that much to me. Even if you move up a weight class and win a second title, there's something very impressive about that, 100%. But it's like, but who did you beat, though? Okay? So either way... Okay,
see, that I really disagree with, though. I mean, look, I get it, right? GSP moved up to fight Michael Bisping, which isn't, like, the highest level win on paper. But, dude, Michael Bisping used to be a fucking light heavyweight. Michael Bisping started off his career as a fucking 205er. GSP... is literally small. He's about the same size as Islam is, fighting at 170. So somebody the same size as Islam went up to 185 and finished the fucking champion. That is so absurdly impressive. And I actually really, really disagree with what he just said right there in terms of making a GOAT list.
Without further ado, let's get into this. The 30th best fighter of all time, Justin Highlight Gagey at the 30 spot. Give Justin Gagey a round of applause. He is making the ranked edition of this video.
I
Justin
guess.
Gagey, in my opinion, he's shocking a lot of people, but this is a perfect example of why I don't believe title wins in and of themselves means everything.
All right. I don't mind. Right? Yeah, that's fine, I guess.
There are champions. There are fighters that have multiple title defenses under their belt that are not higher on the all-time list than Justin the Highlight Gagey. We're not even going to call him by his nickname in this video. This is utmost respect. Salute to Justin Gagey for making the list. Let's talk about Justin Gagey's resume. And I've compared Justin Gagey's resume to lots of other solid fighters that haven't won belts. And I think that I'm going to have to come to the conclusion that he may be one of the best to never win a belt. He's at least top 3 fighters to never win a belt. And this is the thing. Justin Gagey does have a couple of L's. But who has he lost to? He's lost to Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the greatest fighters, one of the most dominant fighters of all time.
Okay, already shut the fuck up, but all right, I'll allow it, I guess.
He's lost to Charles Oliveira, one of the greatest fighters of all time.
See, that I actually agree with. That is actually very solid from Lucas. Good job there, buddy.
And he's also lost to Dustin Poirier, but he's also beat Dustin Poirier, right? He's lost to Max Holloway. That's not the best look. He's lost to Eddie Alvarez, fair enough, but outside of those L's, outside of the Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier.
I love how he had to put 2021 Michael Chandler, but that is very important. That's important, I guess. James Vick, I know, man. Dude, if you've beaten James Vick, you're on my GOAT list.
Who he has beat as well. Let's not forget that. Okay, he has a win over DP. Justin Gaethje has some incredible wins. I think he has some of the most underrated wins ever, because I know there are going to be some
Easygoing _19. Thank you for joining the fan club. I really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much. If you want to join the Discord, my buddy Tyler's got you.
Scratching their head, and let's just list some of these wins. He was the one to snap Tony Ferguson's 8 or 9 year unbeaten streak when Tony Ferguson was on an 11 or 12 fight win streak. Justin Gaethje, the underdog going into that fight. The guy that took it on short notice, like 3 or 4 weeks notice, where Ferguson had 8 weeks to prepare for that date. It was supposed to be against Khabib. Justin Gaethje was the one to beat Tony. Now, Tony was maybe not at his absolute peak, but if you're the one to end that streak, that is an incredible win. Tony Ferguson's one of the best lightweights ever, and Justin was the one to snap his momentum. Dustin Poirier. Justin Gaethje beat Dustin Poirier, who then went on to beat Benoit Saint-Denis and give...
I really disagree with the notion that Tony was washed when he fought Justin Gaethje. Tony Ferguson, again, has, certain aspects of his game that is certainly a fucking problem. I'm just going to let this play a little bit as he waffles, but Tony Ferguson has always sort of lacked fundamentals, always. He's always been kind of hittable. He always kind of just fucking goes after you and tries to put a pace on you and tries to overwhelm you. Somebody like Justin Gaethje, who at the time he fought Tony Ferguson, has good footwork, decent boxer, you know what I mean? Like, that is just, he has the style to destroy Tony Ferguson. He just does. I think any, sharp boxer is going to fuck up Tony Ferguson. I think that Dustin Poirier could have done a very, very similar thing. I think that even Conor McGregor might have been able to do the same thing. The only problem is if Conor would have ended up gassing and if he couldn't finish Tony, maybe. But, other than that, I disagree with that. Oops.
That win over Michael Johnson as well. Cowboy Cerrone and the absolute marauder, James Vick. Now, obviously, the last one is not that great. But I think Justin Gaethje has beaten some really solid fighters. And again, at the time in which he beat some of them, that really does a lot for him. Again, being the one to snap Tony Ferguson's win streak, knocking out Dustin Poirier when Poirier is still, in my opinion, in his prime. Rafael Fiziev a couple of times. Justin Gaethje has a solid case to be at the number 30 spot. But let's get on to Aljamain Sterling, one of the greatest bantamweights to ever do it. He has some really solid wins. A win over Petr Yan in that rematch. Everyone expected him to lose that because he lost the majority of their first fight. And I do kind of count that as a loss because that illegal knee didn't happen until late in the 4th round. And for the majority of the fight, Yan was winning, and it only looked like it was going to get worse for Aljo. But him and Yan are 1-1, and Petr Yan is one of the best fighters ever. He's very underrated. You guys will see. Stay tuned.
Okay, I don't know. Let's see.
Yan. That's amazing. He also has a win against damn near prime Corey Sandhagen, who he choked out in the first round. He's got wins against Henry Cejudo. And you know what? Henry Cejudo, even against Song Yadong 2 years later, looked pretty decent.
Yeah, I don't.
And for Aljo to go
I don't know. I need to see who else he puts around this list. I don't know.
In Henry Cejudo, given that Cejudo had an Olympic gold medal in wrestling and that he can't strike with a guy like Cejudo who's super dangerous on the feet. But what does he go out there and do? He actually takes Cejudo down a couple of times and outstrikes Henry Cejudo. And at the time, people were saying Aljo striking wasn't that good. Aljamain Sterling has a lot of other quantity wins.
Petr Yan, Corey Sandhagen, Henry Cejudo, Calvin Kattar, Jimmy Rivero, Renan Barão, Pedro Munoz.
Career. He picked up a lot.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, man. But all right, let's just hear who else is there.
The TJ Dillashaw win, I don't really count that. But, he's got a win over Calvin Kattar, moved up a weight class. I just got Aljo at the number 29 spot. So let's get on
I don't know.
to
Maybe.
the next
I guess.
one. Davidson Figueiredo. I'm putting Davidson Figueiredo at the number 28 spot. Former flyweight champion with multiple wins in the bantamweight division in his old age. This guy went on a 3-fight win streak in the bantamweight division when people thought that he was done, beating guys like Cody Garbrandt, Rob Font, and Marlon.
Dude, honestly, Jim, I just don't even know. When you're this far out, when you're ranking fucking top 30, it's I don't know. I need to see who else he puts around the list. It's just too high of a number for me. I mean, I'd honestly think that Aljo should probably be higher, but again, I don't know. I need to see who else is here.
But they're just decent quantity wins that help his case. The real reason why Davison gets a look to begin with is because he's taken out Alexandre Pantoja in 2019. Keep in mind, Pantoja is 35 years old. He just won the title.
But also, Figueiredo just stylistically is a nightmare for what Pantoja does. Like, obviously, styles make matchups, and just, like, any way you want to put it, he is a nightmare matchup for Pantoja. You know what I mean? That's just kind of what it comes down to.
The second fighter in UFC history to win a title.
Just like Figueiredo went to war with Moreno 4 separate times, pretty much. But Pantoja just big dicks Moreno every single time they fought. You know what I mean?
35 in the lighter weight classes. It's only been done by Volkanovski and now him. We don't think of him as an older guy, but he is actually kind of old. Figueiredo beat him in 2019. How old was Pantoja? 30? I know he wasn't skill-wise where he is today, but that is a good win.
Was he not skill-wise where he is today? Is he not skill-wise? I mean, I don't know about that.
Version of Alexandre Pantoja. And people forget, man, but Figueiredo has a win over him. He's also got a win, actually 2, against Brandon Moreno. The first fight that they had, a draw. Figueiredo won that shit.
It's already at 1.2, but we can put it even a little bit higher.
He also beat Brandon Moreno in the trilogy. They're 2-2, as far as I'm concerned. He's also got wins against fighters like Joseph Benavidez. And people are going to say, well, Benavidez was an old man. He was an old man. Benavidez was like 35 years old when he was getting destroyed by Davison Figueiredo. And I understand that's not peak, that's not total prime, but it's also not like Tony Ferguson fighting fucking Paddy the Batty, all right? He's got more quantity as well, beating guys like Alex Perez, Tim Elliott, Jared Brooks. I mean, these are some of the same guys that Demetrius Johnson has on his resume. And, people talk about DJs being top 10 all time. And you know what? It's important to have a lot of quantity on your resume, but I ultimately think that Pantoja win, that's basically better than anything Justin Gaethje has on his resume. It's better than the Ferguson win. It's better than the Poirier win. That is an incredible win. And again, it was 2019. Maybe not peak Pantoja, but it's like, I'm sorry, but when you're 30 years old.
I don't know. I need to hear who else is on this list.
The way that I look at careers is this. You're either old and slightly washed or totally washed. In the beginning of your career, you're a tadpole. If you get into the UFC and you're like Max Holloway when he came into the UFC in his first couple of fights, I consider that like tadpole level. So if they take a loss, you take it with a grain of salt. A couple of years later, you're still in your rookie mode. You know what I mean? But from the ages of like 26 to like 35, all of that shit counts massively. We're going to count that a lot. You're basically in your fucking peak, man. Okay, like, I'm sorry, dude, but I don't want to argue, all right? We can't just compare, we can only talk about fighters for when they were winning. It's like, okay, but how do we differentiate them? We need to differentiate based on a big part of their career, and a lot of these guys are taking losses during that part of their career, you know what I mean? Prime, in my opinion, the best way to discuss it is athletic prime. That's it, athletic prime. So let's get on to the next one.
All right.
Frankie Edgar at the number 27 spot. He's got...
Okay. All right.
Wins over old head legends like Sean Sharp and BJ Penn. BJ Penn is one of the greatest fighters to ever do it, and even he is going to make this list. You'll see where. I mean, Frankie Edgar beat him twice. Prime Cub Swanson wins against the Laguna Beach native Uriah Faber, knocking out Chad Mendes, destroying Yair Rodriguez. He has other wins that people forget about.
I actually didn't even know he knocked out Chad Mendes. That actually is kind of impressive.
Charles, going into that, he was not a total tadpole. He was a rookie, fair enough, but 8 fights. I mean, you can't say Charles Oliveira was a spring chicken when Frankie Edgar beat him. Yeah, he's lost to Jose Aldo, but Jose Aldo is one of the greats. Same thing with Max Holloway. Frankie lost to Max Holloway when he was like 38. And going into that, he was on a great win streak. But after that, took a couple L's to Sandhagen, got KO'd there, and got KO'd by Gutierrez. But that's when he was
Lilos Adventure, thank you for the $2 spoiler. DJ isn't even in his top 10. Oi, okay. I don't even know how to feel about that.
And you got to take that with a grain of salt.
I don't know how to feel about that yet.
Had some nasty wins.
I don't know how to feel about that yet.
That's why he is making this list at the number 27 spot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't, based on this criteria that we wrote down, I would not have Frankie Edgar there, but at the same time, it's like kind of, it's just so arbitrary to be ranking this fucking high.
At the number 26 spot. The assassin baby, Brandon Moreno, Mexico, is making the list. That's right. Brandon Moreno is my 26th best fighter of all time. I think it's time to put some respect on it.
Figueiredo, I think, has way more impressive wins than Brandon Moreno. I just got to be honest, based on this criteria we're going off of, but, I don't know.
Since then, Brandon Moreno has gotten good, solid wins against fighters that are on championship resumes, like Steve Ercik, who Moreno beat better than the actual champ himself. Before that, he set a strike record against Amir Albazi and absolutely schooled him. And that is maybe not the best win, but it's a solid win. He also has 2 wins over Davidson Figueiredo. And although he's lost to Brandon Royval, he also has a win over Brandon Royval. We just talked about Pantoja beating Kai Kara-France and how that's a great win. Well, Brandon Moreno TKO'd Kai Kara-France just a couple of years ago. He's also got a lot of good quantity with wins over Jussier Formiga. But I ultimately think that his wins over
Jussier Formiga. Yeah, look, dude, I'm putting Figueiredo ahead of Moreno, but that's just me, I guess.
Brandon Royval, even though they are 1-1, but wins against guys like Steve Ercik, schooling Amir Albazi, 2 wins over Davison Figueiredo. I think that means a whole lot. And also, I'm not going to give him that much credit based on losing, but we can't act like he just got smoked by Pantoja. The fight that they had just a couple of years ago, it was actually razor close. And I think that speaks to how good Brandon Moreno is. But now it's time for us to get to the top 25.
All right.
Based on
25. Here we go.
We're remembering his name today. It's Belal Muhammad. He is the 25th best fighter, and a lot of people may not like that and whatnot, but listen, this guy has a 15-3 record in the UFC in the modern era. And throughout his prime years, he's only taken a couple of losses, and that's to Jeff Neal in 2019, late 20s, early 30s there. So I'm going to have to count that and take that serious. And then outside of that, he has a loss to Jack Della Maddalena, the current welterweight champ, who's looking like a absolute monster at the moment. That's not that bad. Belal Muhammad is the one that beat Leon Edwards. Listen, you got to put respect on that win. He beat Leon Edwards fair and square, and that's the guy that took out Kamaru Usman twice.
See, look, it's hard for me to take this seriously because, look, dude, at the end of the day, the reason why he beat Leon Edwards is because stylistically, Leon Edwards cannot box. He really gets uncomfortable when you close the distance with him. Therefore, Belal Muhammad was the perfect stylistical matchup to beat somebody like Leon Edwards. Whereas you give him a Joff Neal, you give him a Jack Della Maddalena, who are, way, way, way better boxers than he is, then stylistically he struggles so much more against that kind of opponent. So, I get it, but that's kind of the problem with these rankings, is just kind of saying, oh, well, he beat Leon Edwards, who beat Kamaru Usman. I'm like, well, look at Kamaru Usman's skill set, look at Belal Muhammad's skill set, and that's the reason why these fights played out the way they did. Kamaru Usman just cannot box in the pocket. You know what I mean? And that's why when he didn't really have the ability to close the distance with Leon like Belal was able to do because of his skill set. So I don't... I don't know.
Outside of that, he's also got wins over guys like Vicente Luque, Randy Brown, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, an older version of Damian Maia, fair enough, but, that's one of them. And then also, he's got the wins.
My mic quality was probably shit. I didn't realize I had 2 inputs going. My bad.
And you could say, well, that was short notice Burns. Well, Belal took that on short notice as well. May not be the best win ever, but he's just got so much quantity. And, of course, he also has the Sean Brady win, which I think really, really carries Belal as well. Because Sean Brady, since that, has destroyed Gilbert Burns. He's destroyed Leon Edwards. It's looking like that win is just...
But again, though, Sean Brady destroyed Leon Edwards because, again, he was able just to essentially capitalize on the exact advantages that Belal Muhammad had against Leon Edwards in terms of closing the distance and being a better boxer in close. And the reason he lost to Belal is because Belal's a better wrestler. Sean Brady has better jiu-jitsu. Well, if you can't take down the better wrestler, your jiu-jitsu is a little bit muted. It's just all stylistic it's just all like a rock, paper, scissors kind of matchup. Look, it's definitely a solid win, but, he's sort of just looking at the name and not like the actual reason why they were able to win. You know what I mean? It's
going to continue to age well, and that does wonders for Belal Muhammad. Again, may not be the best quality wins ever, but this guy also just has a ton of quantity. 15 wins in the UFC, only 3 losses because he's got that clean ratio, because he's beaten people like Leon, who just beat Kamaru Usman twice. We can't ignore those 2 wins against Usman. Those are incredible, and Belal beat the guy.
Oh, thank you for the $2. It's of a bitch. Thank you for the $2. Subshay, look at this recency bias is otherworldly. Well, I think that there is something to, current modern day fighters just being way more technical than the fighters of old. You know what I mean? So, to a certain extent, I kind of get it,
Robert Whittaker, ahead of Aljamain Sterling, ahead of Justin Gaethje, and here's why. 18-5 in the UFC. And this is the thing. Before I get on to the wins that this guy has and just tell you all of the names that Whittaker...
I kind of feel like Robert Whittaker should be way higher. But that's just me.
...has under his belt. This guy only has a couple of losses, and he's only lost to the absolute best. I mean, let's think
I mean,
about
I
it.
guess 185 overall is not a super technical division, I guess.
For a second.
But, like, dude, if it wasn't for Israel Adesanya, I don't know. Let's see what he has to
lost
say.
to Adesanya once because I believe that second fight was a robbery. I think he clearly won 3 rounds, but
I agree
he
with
lost
that.
to Adesanya once, but he's also lost to Hamzat Chimaev and Dricus du Plessis. Outside of that, who else has he really lost to? I mean, he took a loss to Wonderboy and Court McGee when he was a tadpole at 170 pounds, but
Nate is here. Everybody say hi to Nate. Thank you for the $2, Nate. I love you, buddy.
I really count that second fight that they had as a win for Whitaker. You may disagree. I think most people agree with me. That second fight, Whitaker should have won. And we do count robberies. Hey. I think you could agree that judges make mistakes. I mean, the easiest way to prove that is just by telling you the judges come up with different scorecards for the same fights all the time. Judges can be wrong. One guy are not both going to be correct in scoring the round.
I mean, I think overall, the middleweight division, while Adesanya was reigning it, wasn't that great. You know what I mean? I mean, you got fucking Paulo Costa, you got fucking Jared Cannonier, you got fucking Marvin Vettori. It's not a super high-level division in the slightest. Like, in the slightest. And I mean, like, Yoel Romero, I guess, is a solid win on paper. But, like, again, he's sort of like an old-school, pure wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, zero jiu-jitsu, zero ability to actually hold people down. Like, he's a freestyle wrestler to the max. You know what I mean? Oh, fucking Soccer Man's here. Soccer Man, dude, I've already lost everything, all right? I know, man. I haven't forgotten.
Against the fence, I don't consider that just a 10-8. I'm sorry, I just don't. And the third round, Yoel got the knockdown, but guess what? Whitaker was extremely competitive for every other moment in that round. So I think that Whitaker has 2 wins against Yoel. That's 2 wins against Prime Yoel. A win against Adesanya. A win against Prime Derek Brunson, who was no joke. A win against Jacare Souza, who was no joke.
I might have misspoke. I was just referring to Yoel's grappling, not his striking was definitely dangerous. I was just talking about his grappling. I did not mean to say that all he had was wrestling. No, he was definitely a very dangerous striker. I was just talking about the grappling.
So Adesanya, what did he do? He got 3 solid wins in a row. Darren Till.
Oh, it's a bitch. Thank you for the $5. It's not fair, though. Just like Silva's opponents would be better nowadays, Silva himself would be significantly better if he fought today. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the hard part about these sort of lists, I guess. You know what I mean? Yeah, like if take like a fucking 16-year-old Anderson Silva right now, and he's training in today's modern MMA, he'd be a completely different fighter than he was back then. But I mean, what do you do about it? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like what? I don't know. Same reason why fucking Babe Ruth couldn't be a baseball player today. The game's just different. You know what I mean?
And so I got Whitaker at the number 24 spot. At the number 23 spot, I have Adesanya. Now, I don't
mind that, though. I don't mind Adesanya's placement.
These guys are 1-1, but if I'm only going to look at that, if I'm going to look at these guys' career in a vacuum and only assess the times where they fought each other, I'm going to say Adesanya gets the better of it because his win against Robert Whitaker is better than Whitaker's win against Adesanya. Whitaker barely squeaked out a decision, whereas Adesanya knocked Whitaker out badly. So he butchered Whitaker, and I think that that's more impressive. And I also think that Adesanya's win over Alex Pereira really carries him as well. I mean, that's an amazing win. Even though he lost to Pereira, he also beat Alex Pereira.
Look, I hear you, but like, it was just such a fucking Hail Mary. This fight was such a Hail Mary for Adesanya. Like, I get it. I'm not saying it didn't happen. As you can tell, I'm still so salty that this happened. It was just such a fucking Hail Mary strategy he had that would never fucking work again. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he went out there and just outskilled Pereira. Like, Pereira had such a fucking rock-solid game plan against Adesanya the second time. The very first fight, he kept running into his right hand. So in this fight, Glover kept telling Alex, always circle away from the right hand. Always circle away from the right hand. And now all of a sudden, Izzy couldn't land for shit. And Alex was fucking him up. Izzy even said himself that he was getting fucked up. He was destroying him with the calf kick. Alex lands it. Izzy literally stumbles off of the calf kick, backs up to the fence, and then Pereira just thought that he was done. And it was just, again, brilliant strategy, but it was just such a fucking Hail Mary that would never work ever again. I'm so salty about it, if you can't fucking tell.
And that's arguably better than anything Robert Whitaker's done. And again, he beat Robert Whitaker. Also, Adesanya has wins over Derek Brunson, who at the time was still very good when Adesanya beat him. And also, he's just got a really decent win over a guy like Jared Cannonier. It may not be the flashiest win. It was kind of boring, but still, that's a decent name to have on
But again,
your
like someone like Jared
Cannonier
Cannonier just can't close distance for jack shit. You know what I mean? Oh, Zizi, thank you for the 100 rupees. Thoughts on JDM versus Brady if JDM beats Islam? I mean, look, if Brady can actually take JDM down and get to a dominant position chest to chest from like half guard, you know, it could be a problem for JDM, but for the most part, I think JDM's a far, far, far better boxer. I think his scrambling ability is very elite, and I think Brady's going to have a really hard time taking him down. Gleeglog Schlog, thank you for 1 month of being a member, buddy. I love you. Love you, but how are you going to say the list is shit before even finishing it? Probably will be shit, but it just seems like hating for the sake of hating. No, look. Truthfully and wholeheartedly, I actually enjoy Lucas Tracy's content a lot. It's just clickbait. You know how it is. You got to play the YouTube game a little bit. I do not hate Lucas Tracy at all. His content has really grown on me. But okay, Dustin Poirier at 22.
Dustin
All
Poirier,
right,
he's making the list, and he's high up.
I don't mind that. I guess
all-time fighter, Dustin. You know, salute to Dustin Poirier. I don't even think it's close. I think that actually it's no debate.
Soccer man, let me see the money, and maybe
Dustin Poirier might be the best fighter ever to never win a belt. Okay, there's only one more that I think might make the list. Okay, it's gonna surprise you guys. Okay, so wait a second. Maybe he's not absolutely the best to never win a belt, but listen, what's gonna hold Dustin back from getting higher on the list is that he has a bunch of losses.
Soccer man, I know you don't believe in God, motherfucker. I know you don't believe in God, so that doesn't mean anything to me.
He has 9. Now, some of these were when he was a tadpole, but you know you got to count the ones that he has against fighters like Conor McGregor, Cub Swanson, Michael Johnson, Chan Sung-dung, the Korean Zombie. So Dustin does have his fair share of losses, and also there was never a time where Dustin was the absolute best in his division, and there was no doubt. And
the problem is that like he's not a 45er. You know what I mean? I don't think he was really a 45er. You know what I mean? So a lot of those wins, I don't know.
To guys like Khabib, Charles Oliveira. And that's kind of why you can say that. And Islam Makhachev, of course, right? But I think that Dustin Poirier is like a perfect example of someone that is heavily carried by quantity plus quality, despite the fact that they have a decent amount of losses. Okay, Dustin Poirier has so many great quality wins, and for that reason, he's top 2 best fighters to never win an undisputed title. Benoit Saint-Denis, Conor McGregor, Dan Hooker, Max Holloway, Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, Anthony Pettis.
It's insane, isn't it? It is insane.
Pettis is a very good win. Jim Miller in Miller's prime, and outside of that, got a bunch of quantity wins as well. Again, Justin Gaethje, that's an amazing win. Wins against prime Max Holloway. That 2000.
Like, dude, I do think Dustin Poirier's level of competition is so much better than Israel Adesanya's. So much better than Israel Adesanya's. Like, I actually really don't mind this at all.
21 version of Conor McGregor was extremely solid as well. And while Dustin was at his absolute peak, he only lost to the pound-for-pound best fighters on the planet, basically.
Yeah, I love how we put Oliveira there.
Oliveira. And the reason why I have Charles Oliveira...
What? Number 21? What? Okay, I don't know. Let's see.
Ahead of Dustin Poirier is because he beat Dustin Poirier when Dustin Poirier was in his prime. Similar to Dustin, Charles has a bunch of losses. I think Charles has like 10 or 11 losses in his UFC career. Okay, a lot of them
Yes. Yeah, he has a lot of losses. However, you know, first of all, this Arman Sarukian loss, heavy asterisks on this one. Heavy fucking asterisks on this one. And let's be real. Frankie Edgar, Ricardo Lamas, Cub Swanson, Jim Miller, Don. Again, if we're going based on Lucas's logic, this is Tadpole. This is Tadpole Oliveira. This is before he had a daughter. Oh, Soccer Man. You know what, man? Soccer Man, I don't want to hear it, dude. I don't want to hear it.
from when he was a younger fighter, but still, you got to take that.
He couldn't take a punch from Chandler. Yes, he could. Because he did. He ate a shit ton of punches from Chandler and won the fight.
assault, but some of them, at the end of the day, they start stacking up and you can't just completely ignore them. But while he's in his peak years, he's only losing to the absolute best of the best, like Arman Tsarukyan, Islam Makhachev, and Ilya Topuria. For that reason,
I will say though, wholeheartedly, like, again, right? Because, I criticize Khabib a lot for saying that, like, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor, these are very, very easy stylistical matchups. And I think that, honestly, based on Charles' skill set, I think Dustin Poirier, Gaethje, Chandler, I think these guys are actually much tougher fights based on his skill set. But, the level of wins is pretty much the same. So Khabib better be fucking the next person on this goddamn list. That's what I think.
Hold it against him that much.
Like, I get it, right? Like, a lot of these wins, like, aren't, these guys aren't grapplers apart from Beneil Dariush, but he fucking he fucking knocked him out, you know what I mean? So, I don't know.
Of these losses that Charles has are from way back in the day. And even though some of them were when he was a tadpole, some of them you got to kind of count. Like the one that he took to Frankie Edgar and the one that he took to Paul Felder, you got to count that. Those are losses. And, that's not the best look. But then again, Poirier lost to Michael Johnson. So,
dude, there is no fucking argument that Khabib beats Charles Oliveira, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I think the only path to victory for Khabib is if he somehow gets a judo throw or if he's able to clip Charles on the feet. Because, dude, if you're shooting a double leg on fucking Dustin Poirier and he puts you in a really tight guillotine, what are you going to do to Oliveira? Are you going to shoot on Oliveira? No, you're not going to shoot on Oliveira. Again, Islam Makhachev has a completely different skill set than Khabib does. Islam Makhachev is a super clean striker out in range, and that's the reason why he was able to drop Charles. But, like, dude, Khabib and Islam specifically game planned to not shoot on Charles because he's too dangerous with the guillotine. Like, what is Khabib going to do? He's going to have to try to strike with him out in space. He's not going to shoot a double leg on Charles. I really, there's no argument. You can't argue otherwise.
Dominic Cruz is coming in at the 20 spot, former bantamweight GOAT. The reason why I have Dominic Cruz ahead of Dustin and Charles, even though I will say that Charles Oliveira has better wins as far as quality goes, Dominic Cruz beat DJ. Okay.
If you're trying to argue otherwise, I would actually love to hear an actual argument. There's no actual arguments here in chat because there is not a solid argument. There's not a solid argument. It would have to be, it's just like, oh, well, Khabib never bled and he was really good. I'm like, okay, so what? Is he going to try to double leg Charles like against the fence? He's going to double leg him and just get immediately put into a guillotine? He got put into a guillotine by fucking Dustin Poirier. You know what I mean? There's just no way. There's no fucking way. There's not an argument. Oh, you can't sub Khabib. That's why Dustin Poirier had him in a guillotine and he was fucking going to his back and he would, like, dude, that's insane. If they game plan for Islam not to shoot on Charles, what is he going to do? What's his skill set? Oh, walk. That's a good point, though. He beat Edson Barbosa, though. He beat Edson Barbosa and Conor McGregor, dude. That's right. I forgot. I fucking forgot. Thank you,
beat Demetrius Johnson, and that was a young version of Demetrius Johnson, but still,
Khabib made him tired with his neck. Oh, that's why he had to roll to his back to try to escape? That's why he had to roll to his back? Khabib jabs him up and wrestles him. Oh, yeah, what kind of shot? Double leg? Single leg? He's going to get put into a guillotine. He's going to get put into a guillotine. He's going to get put into... Dustin Poirier put him into a guillotine, and Dustin Poirier literally sucks at the guillotine. I made a whole video about how he has really shitty guillotines. Again, it would have to be a throw, or maybe he can clip him on the feet. I do think Khabib was underrated on the feet, but he doesn't have the same skill set that Islam has. That's a really difficult stylistical matchup for Khabib, and there's no argument. There really isn't.
He has wins over Benavidez. He has wins over the Laguna Beach native, but also I think that Dominic Cruz kind of established that he was the guy back in the day. I mean, for a while, Dominic Cruz was...
a low single. Oh, I forgot. You can't guillotine somebody off a low single. I forgot. You can't guillotine somebody off a low single leg. I'm being sarcastic. You can.
Nobody was beating.
You can't, look at the low single he hit on Conor McGregor. That's just fucking guillotine all day.
And he did.
But Khabib would be extremely hard to sub. That's why Dustin Poirier put him in a guillotine, even though Dustin Poirier has horrible guillotines. I made a whole video about how Dustin Poirier does not have the mechanics of a guillotine down. I'm telling you, there's not a good argument.
his absolute peak. I mean,
There's
he's
not.
only losing to the absolute best in the world.
I haven't seen one person actually make an argument.
Dustin, we're talking Gagey. We're talking... I mean, it's kind of hard to come up with a whole lot of amazing wins, right? Dariush, those are his top three. What, we're going to put a lot of stake in the Kevin Lee win? I don't think so, right? So I think that Demetrius Johnson's pretty good. I think that Dominic Cruz's ratio of wins to losses are better. And also, a lot of the losses that Dominic Cruz has are not bad losses at all. For example, like his loss to Henry Cejudo, where he got put out. He took that on a week's notice coming off of the couch after taking multiple years off. You know, Dominic Cruz could have never have won that fight. So I don't really look at that as that bad. The loss to Chito Vera, Dominic Cruz is an old head. So I don't think some of those losses are that bad.
I don't really mind Dominic Cruz there, to be fair.
To beat that. Cody Garbrandt loss does look really, really bad.
I guess.
Say that,
I don't mind
but
that.
Still, Dustin lost to Johnson. Charles Oliveira took a bunch of L's back in the day too. So I got Dominic Cruz there. At the number 19 spot, we got Fedor Emelianenko. Fedor Emelianenko, even though he lost in his prime years, people think, oh, he only lost when he was old. Dude, this guy was taking back brutal losses in his early 30s in Strikeforce. But
frankly, call me a casual all you want. I don't know jack shit about Fedor Emelianenko's career. I don't know anything about his career. I don't know jack shit about him.
Sylvia and Mirko Krokop. And so for a while, this guy was on top of the world, and absolutely nobody was messing with him. And that's why I have him ahead of Adesanya.
Yeah, I mean, Stab, see, that's a good question. I think, like, obviously, if I was trying to, if hypothetically I was trying to game plan for Khabib against somebody like Charles, I'm gonna try to do my best to approach the fight like Islam did, but it's gonna be hard. Because Charles is going to try to walk Khabib down. He's going to try to go after him. And again, Islam Makhachev is elite on the back foot. I don't want to use the word elite, but he's very good on the back foot, slipping, landing shots. So that is what allowed him to beat Charles. Khabib doesn't have that same skill set. You're really not going to want to try to wrestle because, again, the guillotine threat is that's why Islam didn't shoot on him. I'm going to say you're going to have to try to clinch, but if you can't clinch up against the fence, I would try to bait Oliveira into throwing a knee so you can then try to hit a throw or a sweep. That's what I would try to say for him, and I think that's plausible, but I still think it's stylistically a much harder matchup than Islam versus Charles. Most accurate placement incoming. All right, let's see.
MMA history. This is going to be the most controversial one. It's going to piss a lot of people off, but guys, as I said in the beginning of this video, this is not your conventional GOAT list.
Okay.
It is Arman Tsarukyan. Arman Tsarukyan is at the number 18 spot, the best fighter to never win a belt, the most underrated fighter in the UFC right now. That's right. People are going crazy. People are angry. People are throwing things in the street. They're rioting. And it's up to me to defend this. Arman Tsarukyan, guys, only has one loss in his UFC career, and that is to Islam Makhachev. It was when he took a fight on a week's notice, and it happened to be against Islam Makhachev. And guess what? Wait a second. It was also competitive. The only loss that this guy has was a fight that he wasn't supposed to win in the first place, and he still made it fucking competitive, and it's only done nothing but age well. All right? Outside of that, he has no losses. I mean, that Gamrot fight, that was a fucking robbery. All right?
Also, kind of a bad game plan from Arman. I'm like, dude, look, Gamrot is the best freestyle wrestler in the entire division. His scrambling ability is literally otherworldly. And it's like, Arman, I get you're elite in that area yourself, but you're a way better striker than Gamrot. Just defend takedowns and strike with him. But instead, Arman was trying really hard to wrestle with him and have scrambles. And I'm like, dude, you're fighting a losing battle against Gamrot. You know what I mean? You're not going to out-scramble Gamrot. He's the best. I think Arman's a close second in that area, but I mean, look, it's the same. Dude, the reason why Islam and Arman was so close was because Islam was trying so hard to wrestle with Arman. And it's I get it, right? The Dagestanis are very used to guys like Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. They're used to that kind of opponent, but those guys are not wrestlers at all. Arman, Gamrot, these guys are elite wrestlers, and that's why Islam struggled against somebody who's actually elite in that area. But, in hindsight, I would say that Islam should just not even try to wrestle. Just, you're going to defend takedowns and keep it on the feet. You know what I mean?
That's a huge factor.
I don't know how I feel about this, to be fair.
I wouldn't even have him in the top 30. He won 4 rounds against Mateusz Gamrot. 4 rounds. That's one of the worst robberies that I've seen in my entire fucking life. It was competitive. You can't say it wasn't. but competitive fights can be robberies. A robbery just means the judges got the fucking rounds wrong. Either way, Mateusz Gamrot, Arman beat him. Joel Alvarez. Everyone goes crazy about Joel Alvarez. Arman Tsarukyan.
Does everybody go crazy about Joel Alvarez, though? Does everybody go crazy? I don't
absolutely murked.
Flukas owns
Joel
MMA
Alvarez
YouTube, but he
about,
certainly
like,
is
the
up there
absolute
for sure.
boogeyman of the division now, right? And that one is going to continue to age really well. Arman handled him. Arman has a clean win over Prime Oliveira.
No, he does not have a clean win. It was literally a split decision. How is a split decision a clean win? It doesn't make any sense. Like, fine, you can say he won because he did win, but it was a split decision. Big three is Shea, Guru, and Flukas. The big three is bedtime, Guru, and Flukas. I'll take the number 4 spot gladly. I will take the number 4 spot gladly. It's just not a clean win. I mean, look, you can say he won, but it was literally a split decision. That's the definition of it not being clean. Like, no matter what you want to say, that is the definition of not clean. One of the judges thought that he won the fight. You know what I mean? Based on the current judging criteria, it was very, very close. But, like, you can't really argue that he should have won this third round. You can't. Literally, per what the judging criteria says, Arman's control time is literally nonsense. You know what I mean? It's not a clean win.
I don't want to hear anybody saying, no, Oliveira's not in his prime. No, Oliveira's not in his prime. Oliveira's had 2 fights since then. 2 fights since then. Oliveira was, 34 years old when he fought Arman Tsarukyan?
Obviously, Charles was definitely in his prime. So, nobody should be able to say that.
In his last 14 fights? And you're going to sit there and tell me that that's not prime Oliveira? That's nonsense. I know it was a close fight. I know it was competitive.
Humble
but
goat,
he has
you
a
clear Flukas. Not view-wise. Definitely not view-wise. I might clear him in lack of teeth, but I think he gets... 16,000 views in 3 hours is pretty crazy. And the truth is, dude, you guys might not know this, but I know this as a YouTuber. The actual YouTube numbers are way out of sync. It's way out of sync. This video, if I had to guess, probably has 25,000 views right now. I would say this video probably has 25,000 views. It on your actual YouTube studio app, this is way out of sync. ITP gets more views than Flukas, but ITP makes videos about again, it's just a little different, right? Lucas is more of a personality. ITP, his videos are about drama happening. It's just, I think it's a different category a little bit.
He's got a win over Damir Ismagulov. That is a decent win. It's not a great win, but it's a decent win.
Look, Steve Jobs, it is clickbait, but I did hear about some placements here that warranted the title.
I guarantee you Joel Alvarez is going to win his next few fights, and he's going to put himself in the top 5 of that lightweight division, and that win is only...
I'm going to go to the bathroom really, really quick. Derek Robinson, entertain the chat. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Derek Robinson, entertain the chat. Derek Robinson, everybody better be entertained. Oh my God, 50 people left, Derek. 50 people left. But guys, I found Poof. Everybody say hi to Poof. He doesn't want to be held. Sorry. Derek. God damn it, Derek. All right, we're back.
Continue to age better. Now, how will this look when Arman Tsarukyan gets flatlined by Ilia Topuria? He's going to have to go down on the list. If you take a loss in your prime, you're going down on the list. But again,
my cat needs
he
to go out.
back with 3 wins, and it's one of those things where, he only lost to the GOAT of the sport. So we'll see. But I got Arman here. I'm sorry. We can go resume for resume. We can go band for band. Arman Tsarukyan has a superior resume to Charles. Like, you say what you want. Oh, Charles beat Dustin and Gaethje, and he beat this guy. Arman beat Charles, okay? And then we're going to talk about...
I know, but it was a fucking split decision, Lucas. It was a split decision from a 3-round fight that should have been a 5-round fight. And per the judging criteria, Arman didn't do jack shit round 3 other than slightly out-edge him on the feet, barely. But, you know, I guess I can't be that mad about it.
The ultimate distinction. You cannot not count losses. I understand that Charles lost a bunch when he was younger and whatnot, but like, as I said, if you don't count that, you punish fighters that haven't lost. Like Arman. He doesn't have losses like that. He just doesn't. He didn't come into the UFC as a young gun taking a bunch of L's. He's too good for that shit, man. I'm sorry. He only lost to Makhachev, and it was on a week's notice. It's like, I'm sorry, but like, who is actually winning short notice fights against people on Makhachev's level? That's just unrealistic. And Makhachev had multiple fights in the UFC up until that point. Just to look at all losses like they're the same thing, I don't think that makes sense. Clearly, it's worse to get 50-45 and absolutely dominated than it is to lose a razor-close decision. So I have Arman at the number 18 spot, ahead of Fedor Emelianenko. Some people are really not going to like that, but here's the thing. Listen, let's just talk about it a little bit more. A Charles Oliveira win is worth like 5 of Fedor's. So I hope you guys can understand
it.
Again,
it was, again, a fucking split decision. Now, the only reason I'm going to dislike this video, though, is because when he mentioned Fedor, he didn't do his little Fedor Emelianenko.
Win is worth like 3 of Fedor's.
That disappointed.
A Dariush win is worth like 3 of Fedor's.
That disappointed.
When you're done tallying up fucking Arman's best wins, he still has like 5 other quantity wins. So.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. I mean, listen, guys, as I said, this isn't your grandma's goat list. All right, with everyone that's been in the top 10 still in the top fucking 10, and we're only allowed to put new fighters there when they've been retired for 10 years.
See, that's the thing, like, only Lucas could, like, do a little jingle and then, like, make it so... I don't know why it's just so funny, you know?
Bias. No, we're doing analytical bias. All right, so let's get on to the next one. Stipe Miocic.
Look, dude. Look, I don't believe Daniel Cormier is that... Oh, my God, he hasn't ranked Daniel Cormier yet. Oh, my God, he hasn't ranked Daniel Cormier yet. If he puts Daniel Cormier up on this list, I'm going to fucking punch a hole in the goddamn fucking wall. Daniel Cormier is not that impressive of a win. I am going to literally fucking headbutt the fucking wall if he puts Daniel Cormier top 10.
Old man Stipe. Yeah, old man Stipe. He's an old man boo. He's tough as a root. He'll call your point mute. He's a crafty old boo. Now listen, Stipe Miocic has a couple of L's. He's got a loss to Junior Dos Santos, but Junior Dos Santos is one of the best heavyweights ever, and Stipe Miocic got that win back, right? He also has a loss to Stefan Struve back in the day, but that was an eye poke, brutal eye poke. I barely even count that. That's like a bullshit loss. Outside of that, Stipe Miocic, the only other losses he has are to absolute legends who he also beat, like Francis Ngannou and Daniel Cormier. Stipe lost to both of those guys, but he also beat both of those guys.
No, I don't think so because he beat Daniel Cormier twice. I don't think Daniel Cormier is going to be
Francis
on the
Ngannou,
list.
Back in the day.
Jay Crispy, thank you for 4 months of being a member. All right, but real talk, why is DC not a top 30 oat? Look, he could be number 30. I don't mind about that. I don't mind top 30 for Daniel Cormier. I don't mind him being in this area right here. I don't mind that.
Being talked about as a really dangerous guy. I mean, if you're fighting for the title, you can't be considered a fucking tadpole, okay? That was an amazing win. He also has the win against Daniel Cormier, and you may say, well, Daniel was a little old. Daniel Cormier, yes, he was a little old in the trilogy, but in the rematch, in the first fight, you don't get to say Cormier is just an old head, okay? Cormier was good enough to be heavyweight champion. If it wasn't for Stipe Miocic at the time, Cormier would be heavyweight champion for a long time. Even then, even when he was 40, Cormier would have still been fucking people up if it wasn't for Stipe. Again, so Stipe Miocic wins over all-time greats like Verdum. I talked about Verdum a little earlier. Verdum is an incredible win, and he is actually going to make this list as well. He'll be 31 through 50, but either way, that's a really solid win. Junior Dos Santos, really solid win. And when it comes to that John Jones loss, like I'm just barely even going to count that. As we get on to number 16, that is the undefeated Dricus du Plessis. 1 win.
I don't mind that. I don't mind Dricus's placement there. I don't mind Dricus's placement.
Catapulting himself high up on this list. He's making the cut. Dricus du Plessis is one of the greatest fighters of all time. I know that there's some people, Matt Hughes, and they're going to be saying Cejudo. Listen, we're in a new era. Dricus du Plessis is on the verge of being top 15 of all time.
Dude, honestly, I might have put Dricus even higher, to be fair. I might have even put Dricus even higher. It's crazy because, like, he is legitimately so well-rounded. He's already a fucking specimen. I mean, dude, look at this fucking physique. Look at those fucking biceps, dude. Look at those fucking biceps and those fucking shoulders. Like, look at that. And, like, dude, when he starts getting real sweaty and his muscles start glistening, like, dude, there is nobody like fucking Dricus du Plessis. Like, can you imagine, like, licking his, like, starting right here and licking up his abs right here? I mean, I'm just saying imagine it. I'm not saying that's what I'm imagining. I'm just saying imagine that. Like, dude, fucking look at him, bro. And it's not even just how girthy he is, but like, again, he can hit you with a blast double leg. He has really good guard passes. He has really good submissions. He can fucking outpoint Sean Strickland over 5 rounds. He can throw spinning back kicks. He can throw high kicks. You know what I mean? Like, he has a very well-rounded skill set.
I think he's 1 win away from passing Anderson Silva. He's undefeated, at least in the UFC, the big leagues where it actually counts. And he's got wins against Adesanya and Robert Whittaker during their prime years.
Yeah, no,
and
I think
not
he should
just
be
get to say
higher.
Adesanya was old.
Randy Brown enthusiast, thank you for the $2. That was so gay. It deserves a donut. Look, it has nothing to do with being. Look. It's not gay to say that he's a specimen, dude. He's not. It's not gay to say that he's a specimen. You know what I mean? I mean, fucking look at him. Look how girthy he is. There's something gay about just being able to point out how fucking yacked he is.
And it was like 35 when he fought Dricus du Plessis as a middleweight. You don't get to call that old and washed up. Same thing with Whittaker. He beat Robert Whittaker during Whittaker's prime years when everybody expected Whittaker to absolutely school and style on him. He's beat Sean Strickland, not only once, but twice. And Sean Strickland, coming off of a win against Adesanya. Before that, he was on a long win streak. And Strickland, throughout his career, has a lot of decent wins. He's got a win over Jack Hermanson. He's got a win over Nasruddin Imavov. That people forget, man, but he took that on short notice against Imavov, and Imavov had been ready for that date for a long time. That win has only aged well. Imavov is a solid win, and Dricus beat the guy who beat him twice. And Strickland was the guy that beat Adesanya right after Adesanya slept Alex Pereira. And then outside of that, he's got quantity as well. He's got the win over Brunson. He's got the win over Darren Till. He's got the win over Tavares. So I think that if Dricus were to beat Khamzat Chimaev, who is looked at as one of the best fighters in UFC history, skill-wise, it's clear that he is going to be the greatest middleweight of all time, and he's going to be catapulted on this list. But the one guy that remains in front of him, in my opinion, at the moment, is Anderson Silva. Now,
see, I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. I think... Okay, let me hear him out.
Anderson may not have the same impressive quality names on his resume like Dricus, or even guys like Whittaker and Adesanya, right? The difference is he does have some decent quality, beating guys like Dan Henderson, beating guys like Vitor Belfort, taking out Chael Sonnen. I mean, listen, people make fun of Chael Sonnen, but
taking out Chael Sonnen. I really think that DDP's level of competition, which is his number 1 criteria, might I add, is just way more impressive. It's just way more impressive than anything Anderson Silva's ever done. And, like, it's not Anderson Silva's fault, but, like, I'm sorry. I think Dricus is way better than Anderson Silva. I think Dricus would destroy Anderson Silva if they fought. And I think that his level of competition's better. I think he's more well-rounded. You know what I mean? I don't know.
But that's actually an okay win. And also, Silva has wins against guys like Derek Brunson when Derek Brunson was in their prime.
Okay. You know what? I forgot about this. This is so impressive, though. Legitimately, this win from Anderson Silva is so fucking impressive. Like legitimately, this is so impressive. Like, way past his prime to fight, for the middleweight division, an elite grappler and elite wrestler, I'll say, in Brunson. This is a very impressive win.
Forget that, but listen, Anderson Silva was also just the best guy in the world, and there was no doubt about it for like a while. For a long time, there was no doubt about it. Dricus, we'll see how his career shapes up, but he could start losing. He could go on a 50-50 streak for the next couple of fights. We don't know. Anderson Silva wasn't going 50-50 when he was in his prime years. He was making people look like fools. He was front-kicking people in the face, and they were at least decent. Some of them were absolute cans. And so that's why I don't think Dricus needs like 50 title defenses, and he only needs 1 more. And that's why I don't have Anderson Silva in my top 10 or very close to my top 10 anymore. But listen, you got to respect it. Silva has those wins over, Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson has a win over Fedor Emelianenko. But either way, I have Anderson Silva at the number 15 spot. At the number 14 spot, we have Jose Aldo.
Dude, I might even have Jose Aldo higher. You know what? I don't know. I guess that's fine.
Unlike Anderson Silva, there was a moment in Jose Aldo's prime where he was getting beat every now and then. I should say moments. There wasn't just a moment. There were moments where you had 28-year-old Jose Aldo getting...
Hold on. Fuck, never mind. I don't have it.
flatlined by Conor McGregor.
Sorry.
And you had 30-year-old Jose Aldo and 29-year-old Jose Aldo getting beat by Max Holloway. And you had 32-year-old Aldo getting beat by Volkanovski. So, listen, he wasn't proving that he was the absolute best in the world throughout his entire peak years. But either way, the people that he was losing to were better than the people that Silva lost to. You know what I mean? Silva lost to Weidman. Aldo was losing to Volkan Max. It's different. Okay? And even though one guy was...
Yeah, I mean... I don't know. Chris Weidman, though, was certainly a motherfucker during his time. But I do agree Volkan Max is a better guy.
It's like, yeah, but like 38, it's not like 50 at middleweight, okay? 38.
I think the problem when it comes to ranking Jose Aldo is like what do you refer to as his prime? You know what I mean? Because dude, he was elite for so long. You know what I mean? Which is crazy. Like he was even elite like into his mid to late 30s, and I don't know. Like where do you rank his prime? That's kind of the problem.
Is like not the worst thing in the world. It's a little old. It's a little old. Listen, Aldo just has much better quality wins throughout his career, right? You've got Chad Mendes, you've got TKZ, you've got Frankie Edgar multiple times, you've got Cub Swanson, and all of these guys were in their prime when he beat them. You also just have a lot of decent names like Moicano, and you've got guys like Jonathan Martinez. You've got Marlon Moraes, and listen, he lost to Marlon Moraes on paper, but technically that was a win for him. That was a fucking robbery and a half. And I said I'm counting robberies. He beat Marlon Moraes. He beat Pedro Munoz in a different division.
Yeah, I mean, dude, this fucking like list of losses, like this is pretty fucking elite. You know what I mean?
The bantamweight division: Marlon Vera, Pedro Munoz, Rob Font. Now, similar to Anderson Silva, nothing stands out that much. He hasn't beaten that many GOATs, but again, he's got a couple of them. As I said, like Frankie Edgar, he does have that win over Frankie Edgar. And he's taken a couple L's, right? Lost to Piotr Jan, lost to Merab, and fair enough, he was a little old. Not washed up Aldo, but, a little slightly older there. But again, those are some of the all-time greats that we're talking about. Those are some of the best that we're talking about. So I do have Aldo a little higher than Silva. Just
I don't mind that. I really don't mind this ranking at all. That's very
losing
solid.
Until he was 38. It's like, yeah, but he was facing a lot easier levels. I mean, I know a lot of people still have Aldo in their top 5. I just think that's absolutely delusional. He just has too many losses. And again, the classic Aldo excuses, nobody wasn't in his prime. It's like, why? Because he lost to better fighters? I'm sorry, but when you're 28 years old, you are in your fucking prime years. You are in your prime years. Aldo didn't look bad when he was 30, 31, 32. He may have stopped kicking as much, but Aldo still looks incredible in his early 30s. Watch his fight with Rob Font and tell me that's not an incredible fighter. Tell me that's a washed-up fighter when Aldo beat Jonathan Martinez. Like, it just isn't a washed-up fighter. I'm sorry, it's not. Even in his last fight that he lost to Zahabi, he didn't look totally washed up. So you don't get to say he was washed in like 2019, 2018.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
2015.
That's very, very fair, I think.
Okay, so let's get on to the next one. Alex Pereira. I got Alex higher than Anderson Silva because he has better quality wins, and I got him higher.
You know what? I guess I don't mind that.
Because he doesn't have as many L's. Alex has only lost
I guess
to 2
I don't
fighters in the
mind
UFC.
that.
That's Magomed Ankalaev, who's got a really decent record, and that's also Adesanya. But he's also beaten Adesanya. He has dropped quite a bit. Alex was actually in my top 10.
I actually don't mind that.
He lost to Magomed, a 9-1 record turning into a 9-2 record. The ratio.
It is so crazy what he's been able to accomplish. It's insane. And dude, again, I'm just waiting for a Magomed Ankalaev video fight announcement because like I really think I could make a solid argument that Ank might be the most technical light heavyweight the world has ever seen.
Was really what was keeping Alex high up on my list. But either way, a win over Adesanya, a win over Sean Strickland, a win over Yuri Prohaska, Jamal Hill, Jan Blachowicz, all former champions.
I know his resume is
insane. You may say, well,
insane.
Jamal Hill's not the most impressive former champion or whatever. Same thing with Sean Strickland. Okay, but Jan Blachowicz was a solid champion, defended his belt. He has a decent resume and wins over Yuri Prohaska. I think
Jan Blachowicz is honestly very well-rounded. Look, he's dog shit off of his back. But apart from that, he's a very solid grappler, very, very good striker. He's very well-rounded.
I think that Yuri is almost really different. I mean, I think he's fucking impossible to beat, man. I think he's impossible to beat. I don't mean to sound like Henry Cejudo, but Yuri Prohaska has a really solid resume. Yuri has only lost to one person in the UFC, and that's Alex Pereira. He's beaten every other person.
It's true.
And he's going to continue to beat every other person unless it's Magomed Ankalaev.
I don't mind that.
But you get my point. Yuri has a good resume. Pereira knocked him out badly twice. But listen, you can't say Alex was washed when he fought Magomed. He still seemed to be at his peak. He was coming off of a couple of the best performances of his entire career. So, yeah, Alex Pereira at the number 13 spot. Not going to be any higher. We'll get on to Daniel Cormier. I have Daniel Cormier at...
Okay, all right. You know what? It's okay. No, it's fine. I'm not upset. I'm not upset. Let's hear what he has to say.
The 12 spot. I got him
Let's hear what he has to say.
Higher than Alex Pereira. He has wins over Stipe Miocic. Okay, prime Stipe Miocic, who was coming off of that win against Francis Ngannou. He also has wins over Rumble Johnson. He's got 2 of them.
Okay, the Rumble Johnson win is the most fucking overrated win I have ever seen anybody ever say fucking ever. Okay, and I'm tired of pretending like it's not, all right? Watch his fights against Rumble Johnson. Rumble Johnson approached those fights like a fucking retard, all right? Rumble Johnson was literally overthrowing against Daniel Cormier and falling over. I'm telling you, I'm not saying Rumble wasn't good, but watch the way that he fought Daniel Cormier. It was the worst approach I've ever seen anybody approach in my life. He was literally falling over from throwing too hard and then ending up off of his back. You should see this rear naked choke. Look at the rear naked choke that he hit on Rumble Johnson. It is the most dog shit submission I've ever seen in my life. Look. It's gonna be the only it's the only time. Where is it? Okay, there's no good photo of it, but this rear naked choke was the most dog shit rear naked choke finish I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was so bad. He had it like this. It was like literally like this over Rumble's face. It was the worst rear naked choke I've ever seen. If Rumble Johnson approached the fight with Daniel Cormier with literally any sort of intelligence, he could have won that fucking fight. I'm telling you, it's the most, like, it was so bad. It was so bad.
Rumble Johnson, Rumble beat Alexander Gustafsson. Rumble beat Glover Teixeira. And DC.
Just watch the fight against Rumble.
He's also got wins against Dan Henderson. And don't forget Volkan Ozdemir.
If I hear Dan Henderson one more time as a good win, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to fucking scream.
Right? Well, listen, I know it takes a big jump off after that, but Daniel Cormier, the thing that separates him from Alex Pereira is that he's only lost to Stipe and John Jones, whereas Pereira's lost to Adesanya, who's lower than Stipe, and Magomed, who's not even on the list right now.
Okay, but Magomed Ankalaev is so much fucking better than... Okay, all right, okay.
Higher I got Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
we're fine.
Also has some sneaky good wins outside of the UFC. Adriano Moraes, those are decent wins, and he's got a couple of them. Now, here's the thing about Adriano Moraes. It's a decent win, but Adriano Moraes recently lost to a fighter that's not that good. I don't even know his name, but you can look at Adriano Moraes' record and see the fighters that he's beating. There's a couple other guys that DJ beat in ONE FC are really not that great. And this is the thing about DJ. He is going to be on this list, and I think what separates him from DC and Alex Pereira is that while DJ was at his peak, while DJ was in his prime, this is why he's higher than all of these other guys, there was really not a lot of competition. Henry Cejudo is like the one guy that you could bring up, but he also destroyed Henry Cejudo in their first fight, and a lot of people thought that second fight should have gone to DJ. DJ arguably won that, but either way, I think a guy like Pantoja is ahead of him. I think that Pantoja has not made it clear that he is the undisputed flyweight
look,
GOAT,
guys, I actually do kind of think that, look, I do believe that DJ would have lost to Pantoja if they fought. I think that there are a lot of examples of DJ, again, he was too small for 125, as crazy as that sounds. There were tons of moments where he would go for an armbar, he would go for something, he'd end up on the bottom, and he would end up kind of getting smashed by even fucking Tim Elliott, just because he wasn't that big of a 125er. I think Pantoja, the level of competition he's faced is a lot higher than DJ's. So, look, with that being said, I think that a lot of people kind of throw out this notion of oh, this guy's so well-rounded, this guy's so well-rounded, this guy's so well-rounded. But, for example, right, a lot of people say, oh, Volkanovski is so well-rounded. It's well, look, he's a very good striker, he's a good wrestler, for sure. But, if you really want to talk about being well-rounded, nobody is well-rounded like Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse legitimately has so many elite individual skill sets. You can't, he is probably the most well-rounded fighter of all time. But I do kind of think that, obviously, his resume is kind of weak. You know what I mean? And if we're, if we're judging him based on what Lucas's criteria is, I don't mind that ranking, to be fair. Oh, it's a bitch. Give me the $2. John Dodson's wins underrated as fuck. Dude was a beast. No comment.
They're basically neck and neck. And if I have to give either one of them the nod, it's Pantoja. Now, yes, Pantoja did lose early on in his career to Figueiredo, and he did lose to Askar Askarov. But Demetrius Johnson took a couple of L's back in the day as well. I think he had a loss to Ian McCall, and he lost to Dominic Cruz. That's not the worst thing in the world, but this is the thing. The quality of Pantoja's wins are just on another level. He beat Brandon Moreno.
Yeah, they are. Times. They certainly are. I have a great take. I knew Charles would get knocked out because Charles lost his alpha mentality. During fight week for Poirier versus Gaethje, he matched with intensity and authority. That is probably the best Skip Bayless-esque read and take I've ever seen, soccer man.
He has 3 wins over him. Wins against Kai Kara-France. That's basically better than anything DJ has outside of Benavidez and Cejudo. He's also got a win over Steve Ercik. He's also got a win over Brandon Royval, and he's got multiple wins over Brandon Royval.
Yeah, look, I don't mind it, to be fair.
And so ultimately, I think that when it comes to comparing resumes with Pantoja and Demetrius Johnson, after 4 of Demetrius Johnson wins, it's going to fall off of a cliff. You're going to go Cejudo, who he's 1-1 with, basically. You're going to go Benavidez twice, and you're going to go Moraes. Okay, and he beat Moraes twice, I understand. It falls off of a cliff. Whereas with Pantoja, he's also beat guys twice. Moreno twice. Royval twice. Then you got Kai Kara-France. You got Kaya Sakuda. And Kaya Sakuda's not the best win, but it's better than a guy like Ali Bugatinov. Better than John Moraga, all right? And then it's like, okay, after Kaya Sakuda, Alex Perez, Manel Cap, and it just keeps on going. This guy has so many good wins. He's like 14-3 in his UFC career.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fair. I don't mind. Again, though, I mean, look, just based on what we have right here, I think Aljo should be a little bit higher. I think Figueiredo should be higher. I think that DDP should be higher. I think Armin should be a little bit lower. I think DC should be way lower. But apart from that, I think Silva should be a little bit lower for sure. But, I guess it's not
better levels of competition.
Bad.
Let's get on to the next one. I got Petr Yan at the number 9 spot. That's right, Petr Yan.
Okay, I don't know. Let's hear what he has to say.
The list. I said that Arman Tsarukyan was controversial. Welcome to Controversial City. It's Petr Yan. I have Petr Yan ahead of...
Diego Lopez, thank you for the $5. Lucas is king casual. He has pretty good takes for someone who doesn't understand the specifics of these skill sets. Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, dude, Lucas just has this ability to be so quotable. You know what I mean? He has this uncanny ability to say things that is just so fucking quotable. I respect the hell out of it.
Toja, I have Petr Yan ahead of
Demetrius Johnson. To hear the reasoning.
I have Petr Yan ahead of Daniel Cormier, Jose Aldo, and Stipe Miocic, Anderson Silva as well, and everyone else on this list.
I need to hear the reasoning here.
Is, in my opinion, the most underrated fighter in UFC history, and it's not even close. It's not even close. Okay?
Okay.
You want to talk about... These guys barely have any losses. You want to talk about quality? Petr Yan has quantity of quality. And he's got only 1 real loss. I mean, we're going to talk...
He only has 1 real loss, huh? Okay.
Talk about this. Let's talk about Petr Yan.
I mean, look, dude, I already know what he's going to say, but don't sit here and tell me the fight with Sean O'Malley wasn't a real loss, while in the same breath saying Armin has a clean win over Charles. Like, you cannot have those two things together. Give me consistency, Lucas. Give me consistency. That's what I need. All right.
Let's just go off on his wins, okay? Because you're going to disagree with that. I think Petr Yan has better wins than Pantoja, and I think he's got better wins than Demetrius Johnson. Petr Yan has a win over Jose Aldo when Jose Aldo was like 33 years old. And Aldo was coming off of a win. And after that, Aldo went on a 3-fight win streak. So we do not get to sit here and say, Aldo was washed, Aldo was washed. I'm sorry, if Aldo was washed when he was fighting Marlon Vera and Rob Font and Pedro Munoz, what does that make the version of Aldo that fought Jonathan Martinez and Batista? Because he looked good in the Martinez and Batista fight. Was he washed? I mean, I guess you could say he's old, and we could take that last loss with a grain of salt. We could take the Batista loss with a grain of salt. 4 years before that, 5 years before Aldo's last fight where he still looked good. For many moments, we don't get to say that version of Aldo was washed.
No, yeah, for sure. That I agree with. The Aldo win is legit.
33-year-old version of Jose Aldo.
Damian Dell, thank you for the £5. Hey, Shay, love your videos. They are my go-to at the moment when I need an escape. I watched yesterday's VOD and thought visible distress involves body language. Yeah, I know. I get what they're trying to say with the new criteria, but it's just a little. Like, I feel like they should have added, if the goal of the new criteria is to be more clear, they needed to add, I think, something else on top of that. Like, I get it, the visible distress, but I think another way to put it in a great way would be if the person needs to immediately defend the choke, I think is what they also should have mentioned on top of that. But I'm glad that my videos are an escape for you. But if you really need an escape from life that much, maybe you should. I would say Vicodin is probably what you should go to as well. Then
was coming off of a win against Marlon Rice. It was a robbery, and then after that went on a 3-fight win streak. That is an exceptional win.
I agree. I agree with that.
He also has a win over Corey
statement.
Sandhagen, who time and time again has proven to be a long-time staple in the top 5 in one of the most skilled divisions in the most skilled
I agree
modern
with
era
this as well. If you guys don't remember, in my best strikers of all time tier list, I put Jan in the Jewish tier, S tier. His striking is fucking insane. He's one of the best. I think he truly is one of the most skilled strikers the sport's ever seen.
And he beat Corey Sandhagen in a 5-rounder. Okay? Number 3. He's got to win against Davidson Figueiredo, who was on a 3-fight win streak. That is top 50 all-time fighter Davidson Figueiredo, former champion, lighter man skill. We can keep going. Sean O'Malley, we all know that was a robbery. I know it was a close fight. I know it was a competitive fight. Petr Yan won the second round. He dominated the majority of the second round. And
was he dominating the second round when he got cracked and dropped? Like, that some people don't talk about. He got dropped in the second round. When Sean cracked him, he literally fell to his knees after getting cracked. I mean, like, he definitely won round 2, don't get me wrong. But, like, come on, dude. No, he did. Go back and look at it. Or he just fell to his knees for no reason after getting dropped. He just fell to his knees.
He won the third round.
It was
very close, but he won the third round.
I disagree. I think if you're going to make an argument, it's Petr Yan won rounds 1 and 2. I think is the proper argument. I do not think there's a good argument that he won round 3. I do not think there's a good argument. Oh, he tripped. Oh, Greg Bennett apparently has that fight just on the tip top of his memory. He tripped. What did he trip on? If you get cracked with a shot and then get dropped, I'm sorry, whether or not you tripped or not, you got dropped. He did. He got dropped. He did. He gets cracked with a shot. He's backing up. Sean goes to flurry. He literally falls to his knees. And I mean, whether or not you want to put asterisks on it or not, he did. Like, he fell. He got dropped after getting cracked. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. Same way that when John Jones fought Dominic Reyes, John, mid-kick, gets punched to the body and then falls over. He didn't get rocked, but he did get dropped. Like, per the U.S., they count that as getting dropped. You don't get hit with a shot and then fall over and say, no, that doesn't count. I'm sorry, you did, technically.
Opinion. Remember, at the time, everyone was pissed off about the decision. I'm not about to let a couple of measly years passing by fool me into thinking that shit doesn't matter and that we're not going to count robberies. It's like we're calling it a robbery for a year after. It's 2 years since. It's been 2 years since. So now all of a sudden, we accept the decision. Nope. That's a robbery. Petr Yan beat Sean O'Malley. Petr Yan also has a win over Aljamain Sterling. You want to talk about the second fight with Aljo that he lost? Okay. He beat Aljo the first time. I know he landed an illegal knee, but you don't get to say that, that fight doesn't count. We're going to write that off like it doesn't even count. Okay, we're not going to give Aljo the credit, but we can't give Yan the credit. Dude, Yan was winning a fucking fist fight. He was winning a fist fight against prepared Aljo.
Look, I don't mind it per se, but, like, don't be saying this shit about Petr and Sean and then say that Armin has a clean win against Charles. You just can't say that. I need consistency.
Jan was the best in the world that night against Aljamain Sterling. That's who he proved it against. That's a win. He beat Jimmy Rivera, who actually has a decent UFC record. And he also has Song Yadong, who just beat Henry Cejudo, who's proven that he's a solid top 10 guy in the bantamweight division. I don't think anyone's going to disagree that Song Yadong is one of the best fighters in modern era at bantamweight. That is a solid win. So we've got Jose Aldo, who's a top 15 fighter of all time. We've got Aljamain Sterling, top 50 fighter all time. Top 50 fighter all time.
These wins are pretty crazy.
In the bantamweight division. Corey Sandhagen, staple in the top 5 in the modern era in the bantamweight division, about to fight for the title. We've got Sean O'Malley, former champion in the UFC. And of course,
but you literally put Sean O'Malley under a win. Like, you just can't do that, man. You can't do that.
There's a bunch of other quantity wins. The only loss this guy has on his record, the only 2 losses, there's 2. One is to Merab Dvalishvili. And this is the thing. Yes, he got 50-45 in that fight, 100%. That may be the most impressive performance in UFC history. And what I'm saying is this. Petr Yan fought the guy who had the most impressive, freakiest, least human, most alien-like performance ever. Merab threw 400 strikes and shot 49 takedowns that night. I'm sorry, but you're not human if you're beating that guy. Okay, Petr Yan's, he's one of the GOATs, but he's only human. Okay? So, I'm not really...
The truth is, Merab is just a nightmare matchup for somebody like Petr Yan. As you guys all know at this point, Petr Yan, he's very stationary. He uses high guard a lot. And if you're going to use high guard, if you're going to be stationary, it's so hard to defend against somebody who's going to be shooting constantly against you. You need underhooks to actually shut the takedown down early, but because he uses high guard, Merab just kept getting to his hips over and over again, and Petr had to defend really, really hard off every single shot. It's just a stylistical issue. And even then, though, in the 5th round, he was still moving and defending and working, which is kind of crazy. Which is kind of crazy.
Saying though that's terrible. He lost to Merab on the best fucking night Merab has ever had in his entire life. 49 attempts of takedowns, 400 attempted strikes. That is one of the most ridiculous things that's ever happened in the octagon. So I don't think
it's because Petr is so stationary and uses high guard. That's why.
Against Aljo, where Aljo won by the skin of his teeth. And then, so here's the thing. If you look at Jan's record on paper, you're going to see lost to O'Malley, lost to Aljo. And this is the thing. It's there was this narrative that Aljo was the bantamweight GOAT for so long. And it's because people were saying, oh, he's got a bunch of title defenses. They were counting the first win against Yan, the first real win against Yan in the rematch as a title defense, assuming that Aljo wins his title against Yan. It's dude, Aljo's first title defense was against TJ Dillashaw, and that barely even counts because TJ had one arm. His first real title defense was against Henry Cejudo. But the point that I'm making is this. If you count
we get it. Yan is very good.
Then you count that as a win for Yan. And DJ ain't fucking with Petr Yan's resume. I'm sorry, he's not. And neither is Daniel Cormier, and neither is fucking Alex Pereira. None of these guys are, neither is Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo lost to Yan.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Frankie.
I guess.
Jan's got to win over Aldo.
I don't mind it, I guess.
All right, son? We are done with casual explanations for why fighters are GOATs for having freaking title defenses, and that's it. You don't get to say DJ is higher than Yan. I'm sorry, you don't. Ian Call, Ali Bugatinov, John Moraga, and even his wins, Joseph Benavidez, that's not even messing with Jan's top 5 wins. It's controversial, but when I say Yan is the most underrated fighter in UFC history, that's what I mean. I think it's pretty clear. And I mean, again, there's just so many people that are going to disagree with that, and their arguments are going to be terrible. Their arguments are going to be, but winning as a champion is 10 times more impressive because that's when the lights are brightest and it's hard to be the freaking wolf on the top of the hill, man. There's not this thing where only the champions have real pressure on them. Yeah, as if
I agree with that. That's kind of dumb to say that if you want to try to... I don't really hear people say that, but I disagree with that.
Charles Oliveira wanted nothing more to get the belt back, and Arman Tsarukyan wanted nothing more than to fight for the belt to begin with. There's a lot of pressure on that matchup. I think there's more pressure on that matchup than even some of these old head fighters fighting.
Again, I can't believe he's now bringing up this fight again and calling this a clean win for Arman, but literally listing Sean O'Malley as a win for Yan. It's just, I can't do it, man.
Whatever the fuck. Okay? Whatever the hell those guys' names were. If he beats McGee, he's going even higher. So, that's my Petr Yan rant. You better start putting some respect on his name. Yeah! Okay?
Kamaru Usman?
Let's get on to the number 8
Dude,
guy.
No. Look, I love Kamaru Usman, but his level of wins is not that good. I'm sorry. It's not that good. I'm sorry. It's not that good. It's not that good. I mean, look, Colby Covington, very, very small welterweight. Colby Covington could have made 55. Colby Covington was the same size as Islam. All right. Again, Colby Covington essentially has a very similar skill set to Usman, other than the fact that he's way smaller, not as big, and not as strong. And he still went life or death with Colby Covington in both fights. He went life or death with Colby Covington. That was a really close fight. Masvidal twice, really, really small welterweight. Gilbert Burns, really small welterweight. All of these guys could have been 55ers. He then fights Leon Edwards, the first real-sized welterweight that he had fought in fucking forever, and he loses. You know what I mean? I mean, of course, at elevation, he did very, very well. But then in the rematch, not at elevation, it was a very different fight. You know what I mean? And obviously, Leon Edwards literally cannot box for the goddamn life of him if you close the distance. But, he just doesn't really have the skill set to deal with that. Usman's boxing is good on the outside. He's got a really good jab, really good straight right, but he cannot get on the inside and box. You know what I mean? Again, at elevation, Leon gassed really bad after a dominant round one, their second fight. Third fight, not at elevation, he did very well. I mean, Tyron Woodley, I guess, is a legit win, but we all know what happened to Tyron Woodley the second after this fight. You know what I mean? I completely disagree.
Kamaru Usman is moving up on this list. That's right, Kamaru Usman getting a win over Joaquin Buckley. Usman no longer in his prime years. He's not totally washed, but he's older. And to win against a in their prime Joaquin Buckley, who is super dangerous,
but also sucks balls. I'm sorry, Joaquin Buckley. I've never seen worse get-ups from the bottom. Dude, Leon Edwards had no problem. Well, I shouldn't say no problem, but look, Kamaru Usman's not going to take your back. He's not going to fucking choke you out. There is no danger in turtling against Kamaru Usman and standing back up. There's no danger. Buckley had moments of turtling against Usman and then not being able to stand back up. It's just not fucking, you know what I mean? Like, it's not comparable. Like, Buckley, for how athletic he is, just completely and utterly lacks skill. You know what I mean? I don't know. Pendahito Retardo, thank you for the $2. How do Big Onk and Yuri matchup go? Well, thank you for the £2. I mean, that's a pretty loaded question for only £2. I think that Yuri is always going to be extremely dangerous, but I think that Ankalaev will probably catch him at some point, but I think Yuri always has a chance.
Dangerous is very impressive. And even though he has the 2 losses to Leon Edwards, number one, let's not forget that he beat Leon Edwards back in the day as well, but also outside of the Leon Edwards losses, he doesn't have any other losses. I mean, this is why Kamaru Usman is so high on the list. I do think that Petr Yan has slightly better quality wins.
Not slightly, way better quality wins.
Kamaru Usman, and he has more of them. But Petr Yan, even though he has a couple of losses and Usman only has a couple of losses and whatnot, I honestly rate Usman's draw with Khamzat Chimaev. I actually think that does something good for him, given that he took that fight.
You know what? I didn't really think about this fight. That is true. That's true. And I feel so bad for Usman because this was so impressive in hindsight, and then immediately after, everybody called him washed.
On short notice. I mean, time and time again, we see fighters take fights on short notice, and they lose. And they're always expected to lose. And so you can only give the fighter that wins them that much credit.
No,
right?
But come on, man. Sean Strickland, I mean, I hear ya, but RDA, it's like, come on, dude. Like, everybody here other than Woodley is, age 24, thank you for the $2. Jan's losses are actually wins, so he's top 10. I mean, exactly.
Kamaru Usman took a fight with Khamzat Chimaev.
Yeah, this is bad. This is poor.
And won
this
2
is
out of
poor.
the 3 rounds. And listen,
based on his criteria, quality of wins. Like, I'm sorry, it's not there.
Usman twice. Outside of that, he's also got wins over guys like Vicente Luque, Randy Brown.
Sorry.
Should have beat Damian Maia. He should have beat Al Iaquinta. He beat a decent version of Donald Cerrone. Jorge Masvidal is not a win that you can scoff at. I actually think that that's a decent win that Kamaru Usman has. I know he beat him twice. The first time it was on short notice, whatever, but still, Masvidal was very dangerous at the time. Gilbert Burns, very good win against Gilbert Burns. I know that now Gilbert Burns isn't looking so good, but that's because he's old and washed. Kamaru Usman beat Gilbert Burns when Gilbert Burns was at his absolute peak with the lighter man skill coming up from 155, who was destroying people, who was looking very good, looking unstoppable. Remember, Gilbert Burns was the second guy to beat Woodley after Woodley lost to Usman.
Yeah, but then Woodley also completely fell off a cliff after losing to Usman. And he's also a former 55.
I know Woodley took a couple of L's way back in the day, but still. The Burns win is great. The Colby wins. I know Colby doesn't have the best record.
I'm sorry. I do not think the Gilbert Burns wins are great. I don't think so. I don't think Gilbert Burns holds a candle at all to the current skill set of welterweights. The current average day welterweight is so high level, it blows Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns, fucking Masvidal out of the water. Like, it's not comparable. You look at Shavkat, you look at Ian Gary, you look at JDM, you look at fucking even Bilal. Like, they blow all of these guys out of the water. You know what I mean?
But there's no denying that Colby Covington.
Burns did give Khamzat problems, but it is really just style. It's how he matches up to Khamzat stylistically. We already know that Khamzat's not a very high level striker. Obviously, his grappling is otherworldly, but Gilbert Burns just played a completely different game against Khamzat than anybody else. Gilbert willingly went to his back threw in a knee shield and started hammer fisting Khamzat from the bottom. You know what I mean? Like, he was a 4-time jiu-jitsu world champion. Like, it's a very, very different stylistical approach there. I mean, I hear you. I'm not saying Gilbert Burns is a bad win. I'm just saying current day welterweights, I really think blow everybody else out of the water. Well, Andrew Jackson, thank you for the $5. I really appreciate it. Is Brady a real-sized welterweight, back wider than Texas, or is he an undersized welterweight? Look, he's 200 pounds on fight night. He is a very, very properly... he's a big welterweight. He's a very big welterweight.
Was a great fighter.
If you're 200 pounds on fight night, you're a big fucking welterweight.
His prime. I think that he had been a little bit overrated throughout his whole career, but he was still a solid fighter in his prime, and Kamaru Usman beat him twice. So he's got Gilbert Burns, he's got Jorge Masvidal, he's got Colby Covington twice, he's got Buckley, he had a draw with Khamzat, and outside of that, he's got RDA, and he also has Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland was on a win streak going into the Usman fight. I think he was on like a 4-fight win streak, and Usman dominated him, and that win has only aged better. Sean Strickland went on to become a champion. But yeah, let's get on to the number 7 best fighter in MMA history, and that is Max.
I don't mind that, though. I don't mind that.
Now, I will say this.
Don't mind that.
If Max loses to Dustin Poirier, I think Jan and Usman go ahead of him. I will say that. I do think that these guys are all razor close. Now, Jan and Usman have less losses than Holloway. But Max Holloway, similar to Usman, if you're looking at his prime years, even though he has a bunch of losses, a bunch of those are to one guy and one guy only. It's like Usman losing twice to Leon, but it's only one guy, right?
Yeah, I don't mind this, to be fair.
He's got a loss to
I don't mind this, to be fair.
And outside of that, he's got losses to McGregor and Dennis Bermudez, but that was when he was very young. That was like rookie mode Max. You kind of have to take that with a bit of a grain of salt. The reason why I think Max is slightly higher than Jan and Usman, and again, if he beats Dustin Poirier, I think there's an even stronger case for that, but it's ultimately because he's got, like Jan, so much quality, and he's just got more quantity.
I mean, you might want to say he's a little bit too high, but I don't mind it. Usman should be way the fuck down here, though.
As well, and that's ultimately why. You know, Max does have some losses, but again, Poirier, Volk, of course, I forgot about the Poirier one. There is that as well. But Max just has so many amazing fighters that he's beat. And this is it. I'm going to list you guys the names that Holloway has on his resume. Cub Swanson, Ricardo Lamas, Anthony Pettis. Right off the bat, those are very good wins. Those are very good wins.
Yeah,
Anthony Pettis was no joke. That's a former champion that we're talking about.
No, let's be real. Anthony Pettis should have never been fighting at 145, but you know.
Has Jose Aldo twice. And this is the thing. I talked about Jan having a good win over Aldo. Max's are better. Because when Max beat Jose Aldo was closer to his absolute pinnacle.
But also, Max Holloway just stylistically is a nightmare for somebody like Jose Aldo. Which, again, is just something that, obviously, I'm not expecting Lucas to, like, that's just not really, he doesn't really break down fights like that. But, you know, I'm just being honest. That's just a factor. You know what I mean?
Other thing that we have to keep in mind is that Aldo was coming off of a win going into those Holloway fights. Even though he got knocked out by McGregor, in between that, he had beaten Frankie Edgar for the title. So Holloway was facing an Aldo that had just got his confidence back a little bit, and he beat him twice in a row. So right off the bat, Aldo twice,
look, I wouldn't mind Max Holloway even, like, down here, but, like, I'm glad he's on the list in the first place.
Anthony Pettis, and then he really starts to go on a run. Brian Ortega, Frankie Edgar, Calvin Kattar, one of the best performances in UFC history. Yair Rodriguez, very impressive performance for Max as well. Arnold Allen, which is a very solid, respectable win. TKZ, slightly older, fair enough, but it's still a good win. And Justin Gaethje, who was on a win streak. And then outside of that, we're talking 8 other quantity wins. But let's get on to the 6th best.
No! No! What is this? What is this? What is the criteria for then? What is the criteria for then? What is this criteria for if you're putting him at the fucking number 6 spot? What? Why even rank? Why even have this fucking criteria? Why even have it? Why even have it then? Why even have it if you're gonna put him there? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
fighter in UFC history. That is Khabib Nurmagomedov, guys. He is the 6th best fighter in UFC history. Very easy to explain this. Khabib was undefeated and he was very dominant, okay? He also wins over some all-time greats like prime Conor McGregor, prime Dustin Poirier, prime Justin Gaethje coming off of the...
I can't do this. Like, what are you talking about?
Fall off quite a bit, but still RDA, who was a champ, and he has wins over Edson Barboza.
Don't say Edson Barboza to me with a fucking straight face. Do not tell me he beat Edson Barboza with a straight fucking face as something that's supposed to be impressive.
And, you know, I mean, listen, you're going to talk about the Michael Johnson win not being good. Well, Michael Johnson slept Dustin Poirier out cold. Okay? So, listen, I mean, Khabib does have a good resume. Ultimately, it's the 13-0. That ratio, 100% wins for Khabib. He did leave early, and he didn't fight absolute well-rounded killers like Topuria and Oliveira. That's what holds him back, but...
No, it doesn't! You have him at number 6!
He was very dominant. He did go out there and absolutely maul prime Dustin Poirier and had absolutely no issue with him. So I do think Khabib has a very good resume, but I have GSP.
See, he couldn't even... He had, like, nothing to say! Oh, that's so crazy. Oh.
Higher than him. I have GSP at the 5th spot. Whoa! GSP at the 5th spot. Here come the riots. Here come the riots. Okay? Here come the riots, man. I know. Everyone wants GSP to be at the 2 spot, the 1 spot, right? No, I'm sorry. I think GSP is at the 5 spot, okay? I think he's slightly higher than Khabib just because he has so much quantity. And also, I think GSP is a very curious case. There's a curious case of GSP, and this is what it is. You're looking at GSP's resume. He has no wins against top 15 all-time fighters, top 20 all-time fighters, but he has a bunch of wins against guys that were no joke. Okay, like Jake Shields. Jake Shields is a fucking monster, dude. Jake Shields beat Dan Henderson.
Okay, yeah,
Jake Shields beat Tyron Woodley. Like, that's one of his wins. He's also got wins over Carlos Condit. Carlos Condit was a badass. Carlos Condit was a bad man, okay? And he's got wins over Matt Hughes. He's got multiple wins over Matt Hughes. He's got multiple wins over BJ Penn. BJ Penn, top 50. Matt Hughes, top 50. Like, he's got a bunch of amazing wins. He's got Nick Diaz, Sean Shirk, former UFC champion. Of course, he has the Michael Bisping win. And listen, the Michael Bisping win may be the least impressive double champ win in UFC history, which is why I say that, you know, at the end of the day, it ultimately boils down to who you're beating. I mean, just the fact that it's a double champ win doesn't necessarily mean it's the best win ever.
But again, dude, Michael Bisping was, he started his career at fucking 205 pounds, dude. 205 pounds. GSP is the same size as Islam Makhachev. You know what I mean? That's insane. I don't really care what anybody says.
But still, Michael Bisping was at least elite. Like, he may have not been the best middleweight in the world, even at the time, even though he had the belt, but he was at least decent, right? But still, that's just one of them. Of course, he has wins. You may say that he lost to Johnny Hendricks, and fair enough. But, you know, at the end of the day...
And also, Hendricks was a fucking, like, legitimately, like, dude, Hendricks, real knockout power, really, really high-level wrestler. Like, Khabib never, ever fought somebody like Johnny Hendricks. He, like, not even fucking close. Like, he had a huge weight advantage. He was 210 pounds outside of camp when he fought GSP. GSP didn't get past fucking 185. You know what I mean? Like even like this even being a win for GSP, whether you want to say, you know, really close fight or not, or even a robbery, is so wildly impressive.
Even though he has a couple more losses, and you could also say that Khabib would never lose to Matt Serra. Listen, that's still young GSP, but it's not like tadpole GSP. But listen, that's what holds him back from being number 2, number 3, in my opinion. So yeah, but I do have Merab higher at the number 4 spot.
Oh, okay. You know what? I don't know. I don't know. I guess
the top 10.
I don't even know what to say anymore.
For beating O'Malley in the rematch and absolutely toasting him and dominating him. But the reason why he also moved up is because I'm looking at...
No, I mean, look, the truth is Merab is pretty fucking... Yeah, Merab's pretty fucking... He's pretty fucking good. Yeah, he's pretty... His resume is crazy.
Different these days.
To be fair.
I'm looking at it a lot different these days.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so funny to hear the way he said that. It was just so funny the way he said that. But yeah, that's why GSP's in here. But anyway, Merab. I thought that was funny.
in the top 3.
I actually don't mind Merab.
There's something
there,
to be said about being dominant in the lighter weight classes, okay?
And also, look, Merab has fought elite strikers. Merab has fought elite wrestlers. Merab has fought, extremely well-rounded people, unlike Mr. Khabib Nurmagomedov just didn't fucking do.
About Petr Yan as being one of the most underrated fighters ever, Merab fucking destroyed Petr Yan. Like, we know how good Yan is. Even when he lost to Aljo, it was razor close. Merab destroyed him. As impressive as Yan is, and even though I think he got robbed against O'Malley and technically beat him, there was no opportunity to rob Merab against O'Malley. Merab clearly beat O'Malley the first time and destroyed him the second time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Merab is, too, like, it's not just cardio. The cardio's crazy. But he's improved a lot since the Henry Cejudo fight. Merab's distance management is honestly pretty good. He's also really fucking fast. Merab is fast, and he's quick, and he's fucking strong, and his striking has improved a lot. Obviously, his submission ability now, he has like a real submission ability now, even though it's a pretty basic submission, but still, like there's a lot to Merab. There's a lot to Merab.
And then you have wins over former champions Henry Cejudo, who still, I know it was a little old when he fought Merab, but Cejudo doesn't look terrible. I was actually impressed with Cejudo despite him losing to Song Yadong last time. That's still an okay win.
Gaethje, Poirier, Ally, Quinta, Barbosa, McGregor, not high level? Nope.
Wasn't peak Cejudo, fair enough, but what about the fight that Merab has against Aldo? Aldo was on a 3-fight win streak. He was like 34 years old. I don't think we can say Aldo was like totally washed, Yeah, Aldo was totally washed, yet he took 2 years off, came back, and destroyed Jonathan Martinez. So even though it wasn't peak Aldo, it was slightly aged Aldo, slightly older Aldo. Merab still beat him. Aldo was being talked about as getting a title shot against Aljo before that. He was in talks to get a title shot. He was right there on the verge of a title. Merab beating him at the time.
Praise something, you were the 10 PLN top 50 worst MMA fighters when. The problem is, like, truly the top 50, like the real top 50 worst fighters you probably just never even heard of. You know what I mean? Well, I guess CM Punk would be number 1, but then apart from that, you wouldn't even know these people. Like, who's this guy? Fucking got cut right away. You know what I mean? The thing is, aura has a major role in Khabib's placement. He's an aura merchant, 100%. That's truly what Khabib is. He had a shit ton of aura. But I'm just saying, give Khabib somebody who has elite cardio, who has, fucking elite wrestling. All of a sudden, Khabib would struggle. You know what I mean? Even if he was able to win against somebody like that, he would face some opposition. And now all of a sudden, this like crazy aura is just gone. And then all of a sudden, I swear to God, give him one matchup like that, and I think more people. Yeah, the truth is, though, I think most people these days, I don't know, at least my audience is we kind of already know it's all aura. But I think to the casual audience, it would change everything. You know what I mean? But again, that's not Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. That's not those people. You know what I mean? That's just not those people.
It's still a solid win, and the Umar win. We're going to have to use the eye test on this because Umar doesn't have the best resume. I understand that.
Yeah, this was crazy. This was crazy. To me, I really think this is still the fight of the year. Even if it wasn't like as action-packed as like Joshua Van and Royval, this was maybe one of the highest level MMA fights I think I've ever seen. It was crazy to see Umar shoot on Merab, and it was literally like Umar was like shooting into a fucking brick wall. Like Merab was so fucking strong.
That's very important. That's like my number one criteria. How good is the resume of the person that you beat? Umar at least has the Sandhagen win, which is good. And he schooled Sandhagen. That's also impressive. It's how he beat Sandhagen, which was very impressive. But like, you just know that that's an amazing win on the eye test. You know how good Umar is. You know how amazing he is. It's like Khamzat doesn't have the best resume, but we know how much a win against a guy like Khamzat means. That is going to continue to age well. If Umar wins his next fight and then goes on to be a champion, that win that Merab has against Umar, when Umar, you don't get to say Umar wasn't in his prime. He just beat Corey Sandhagen. He's like 29 years old. Of course, those are prime years. So he's got Umar, he's got Cejudo, he's got Aldo, he's got Marlon Moraes.
Yeah, it's wild.
And he's got like
insane.
7 other quantity wins before all of those.
This is insane.
If that's not enough, here's 7 extras. 7 extra Demetrius Johnson style wins. 7 extra Anderson Silva style wins, like Chris Liebens. Okay, you get my point. I mean, listen, at some point, people are going to have to stop looking at the GOAT list as a competition to see who has the most title wins. Okay? Because at the end of the day, it just comes down to nostalgia bias with that, because you're just going to be looking at older champions, because fighters just don't have an opportunity to get 10 title defenses these days. Anderson Silva fought for the title in his second ever UFC fight. It was a lot easier to get title defenses, and the competition is a lot more stiff. It's a lot harder to even get to the title, let alone state champ these days. Yeah, man. Merab is higher than Silva. He's higher than Mighty. He's higher than DC. And what's your argument against that? What's your argument against that? Gustafsson. Oh, yeah, Gustafsson. Yeah, Gustafsson lost to Anthony Smith and lost to Verdum when Verdum was old. Lost to Rumble Johnson a couple times. Like, Gustafsson's resume is overrated. What are you going to say about Anderson Silva? Whiteman. Yeah? Okay, but what about Piotr Jan? And what about Aldo? And what about Cejudo? And what about Umar? And what about O'Malley? What about those guys? What about, he's literally about to beat Sandhagen. You may as well count that already. You know what I mean? Like, what about that? Yeah, that's what I thought. Prove me wrong. Merab Dvalishvili is my 4th best fighter of all time. Next, we have Ilya Topuria. He is the 3rd best fighter of all time. That's right. Okay, I just realized that we have too many fighters in the top 10. There's still 3 more fighters left. Either way, listen. Okay, so Ilya Topuria, let's just say...
You know what? Look, I actually really don't mind putting Ilya really high, but he's not. Merab's resume is way better. Merab's resume kind of blows Ilya's out of the water. Look, Ilya's, I honestly don't mind putting him high on the list. I actually think that Ilya, at least fucking compared to Khabib, has fought some fucking elite fighters. You know what I mean? Like, Like, to knock out Volk, to knock out Max Holloway, to knock out Oliveira, like those are some fucking elite, well-rounded fighters right there. Extremely impressive. But I still think Merab's level of competition is way better. Way better. I think you should put Merab ahead of Ilya. Probably put GSP ahead of Ilya as well. But,
He is at the 4 spot.
Well, Oliver Oils, I wrote down his 3 criteria. Number 1, quality of wins. Number 2, ratio of wins to losses. Number 3, who have you lost to? Quality is literally the number 1.
Rob's at the 5 spot, GSP 6. Okay, whatever. Listen, the reason why Ilya Topuria is this high, the reason why he's 4 all time, in my opinion, is because the wins over Volk, the wins over Max, the win over Charles, there's nothing overrated about those wins. I'm starting to hear some people say, well, Charles was old, Volk was old, Max was old. Max was old? Max is 33 years old. In what world is a 33-year-old old? Oh, he's got miles on him.
I don't think anybody's really saying this. Like, okay, maybe if you're fucking scrolling, like, MMA posts on Instagram, like, that is where you find the absolute worst fucking takes of your life. I don't even go there anymore. I never look at the comments of any fucking MMA Instagram post because I just fucking, it raises my blood pressure through the fucking roof. I don't think anybody really is saying this. I'll tell you what, though, dude. My dad doesn't really know that much about MMA, really at all. He texted me after Ilya Oliveira, and he's like, my dad texts me and goes, Oliveira looked old. I was like, He's
got miles on him. I don't care, dude. Max Holloway was on a 3-fight win streak. He was coming off of the best performance of his entire career. He had looked the best he has ever looked in his entire career. He had improved from the trilogy with Volk, where Max Holloway, going into the trilogy with Volk, was looking improved. He improved from the trilogy with Volk going into the Topuria fight. He looked good against Topuria. You don't get to say that Holloway was old. That's prime Max Holloway. Peak prime Max Holloway. And Ilya Topuria knocked him the fuck out. That's never happened. Nobody's ever...
Yeah, that's insanely impressive. For sure. Like, I really don't mind Ilya being this high. I just truly think that Merab's quality of wins, his number 1 criteria, I think it's better than Ilya's.
KO'd Max. And you got people saying, Max is training now. Yeah, right.
Take your dad to school. I didn't. I just told... you know what? My exact text to my dad was like, Ilya Topuria is like fucking Mike Tyson. I think that's what I told him. Something like that. I just didn't even,
Someone else did it, they wouldn't be saying anything. Charles Oliveira.
Well, Jim, I'm basing this off of Lucas's own criteria. Because the thing is, right, when you're ranking the greatest fighters, that's a very broad, very subjective thing. So I'm just using his criteria. His criteria, number 1, is quality of wins. So I'm judging it based on him.
In a way nobody has ever come close to, which just proves he didn't knock out Max because Max had mileage on him. He put Charles's lights out with 1 punch. It was a 2-punch combo. The first punch put his lights out.
Okay, all right.
So it's clear him knocking out Max is not a mileage thing. It's this guy is built different type of thing. So he knocks out Max. Best chin in UFC history, the best version of Max Holloway that there's ever been. I'm telling you, Max Holloway.
To be fair, I think Marvin Vittoria is the best chin in MMA history, but
it never looked as good. You could say, he looked better against Volk. Yeah, because Volk isn't the level of Topuria. That's why he looked better in the rematch against Volk. You can't look that good against Topuria ever. Okay? He knocked out Charles Oliveira. Charles was coming off of a win. And Charles is not totally old. Like, he's older. He's not at his absolute peak. But the way he beat Charles, the way he beat him, shutting down the grappling, out-grappling him and putting him in crucifix.
Okay. I'm sorry. This is where I fucking draw the line. He did not out-grapple Charles Oliveira. He didn't out-grapple Charles. That didn't happen. The second Oliveira got, the second that he got to the crucifix, Oliveira immediately hiked him up and then threw up a leg lock. Immediately. Like, he didn't out-grapple him. He did not shut down the grappling. The leg lock escape Ilya used was fucking freaking out. That's what it was, okay? He gets swept with the leg lock, and then Ilya starts panicking, trying to free the knee line. Like, obviously, Ilya has an understanding of leg locks. You know, he's a very good grappler. But, like, he fucking spammed his way out of there. You know what I mean? He scrambled to get out and then chose not to go back to the ground. All right, that didn't happen. Okay, go back and look at the fucking fight. Oliveira opens up his guard, and he literally, like, doesn't even, like, try to hip escape or get any frames. Ilya just waltzes around his guard. The second he gets to the crucifix, Oliveira hikes him up and throws up the leg lock. Like, he didn't even secure the position, dude. He didn't even secure the position. And I think people in chat, they either haven't watched the fight or they're just trying to rage bait me. But count the amount of seconds he had a crucifix. It was less than I think it was less than a second.
After passing
I'm not biting on the rage
and then
bait.
Getting
chat.
up to his feet and stuffing another one of Oliveira's takedowns.
Know I'm right.
And then putting his lights out cold. And then you want to talk about the Volk win. Guess what? It's clear now. Him knocking out Volk.
All right. We get it. Ilya's very good.
Ilya Topuria chinned a prime version of Volk. I don't care if he's 35, whatever. I'm not going to say that was absolute peak Volk. I think peak Volk was...
All right. We get it.
Volk was always a guy that was a little bit older. Volk was always... people were discussing after the trilogy with Max Holloway where Volk schooled Max. People were saying, dude, this guy's getting better at like 34, and they were shocked. Volk, remember, started MMA late on. He started MMA when he was like 26. So he didn't really reach his prime until like the Ortega-TKZ fight, when he was already in his early 30s. So Volk at 35 in the Topuria fight was really, really good. You don't get to tell me he wasn't. He was actually looking slick. He was looking like he was firing on all cylinders. He made a defensive mistake that Volkanovski makes quite a lot. That's a problem with Volkanovski's game. 3 best back-to-back-to-back.
That is true, though. That is true. What he just said right there is true.
I'm not going to hear anything about Max.
Everybody was just like, oh, Volk's washed. Oh, the only reason Volk got knocked out was because he got knocked out by Islam. And I'm like, okay, so he wasn't going to back up to the fence with his chin up in the air if he hadn't been knocked out to Islam then? No, it's just stupid.
No, he's not old. Max Holloway was at his absolute peak, and also has other good quantity wins. Like
you know what? I'm actually very curious who he has as number
Josh Emmett
one.
Win,
I'm very
curious. Win. These are solid wins. He's undefeated, has never lost.
Goddamn.
3 spot. I got John Jones. That's right, falling from the number 1 spot. Not just because he ducked Tom Aspinall and we're all upset about that, but I've actually done a little bit more looking at his resume. John Jones, outside of his win over...
Honestly, his resume is not that strong.
Daniel Cormier, and he's only got one that we can count because...
I don't think Daniel Cormier is that high level of a win. I'm sorry.
The second one, he popped for steroids, and that was basically cast off of his record because he cheated. But outside of the Daniel Cormier win...
Lucas, I'm sorry, Lucas. You're a bodybuilder. You should know about all of this. John Jones, I hate when people say, okay, but that win, he was on steroids. I'm like, dude, he's always been on steroids. Like, what do you mean? You really wholeheartedly believe John Jones only took steroids for that one fight, and now he's clean? Like, dude, okay, you guys gotta understand, they never actually found steroids in his system. What they found was estrogen blockers. An estrogen blocker is something you take while on steroids. He's always been on steroids, okay? Like, don't be so naive. Well, he was on steroids for that one singular fight. I'm like, no, he's always been on steroids. He did pop for a Turinabol also, like a very minuscule amount. It doesn't really matter. Point is, he's always been on steroids. He's always been taking illegal substances. Always. Tyson Tomlin for the $2. Yawn ahead of Mighty Mouse. Look, again, based on Lucas's criteria of quality of wins, I don't mind it. But, look, I don't mind John's placement. But, again, I really wholeheartedly don't think his quality of wins is great at all. I don't think so.
I just don't think he can compete with the guys above him. And that's right. We're going to get to number 2, Alexander the Great, Volkanovski.
I don't know. That means number 1 has to be Islam.
Alexander Volkanovski continues to move up on the GOAT list. I think in all of my GOAT videos, he has just been climbing that ladder to the top, to the tippity top. And guys, I just told you,
his quality of wins is pretty crazy.
That John Jones just cannot compete with the guys above him because he only has
have
one
to look at
all-time great win
record to be
over a guy in DC.
Compare him to everybody
I think
else.
a lot of his wins are kind of overrated, to be honest. But when we look at Alexander Volkanovski, we have 4 all-time great wins. We can talk about the Jose
Max
Aldo.
Holloway, Jose Aldo, Diego
Lopez.
Lopez. Dude, I even think Merab has probably better wins.
Max Holloway, not once.
I think Merab has way better wins than Volk.
3 times. You see, we give Ilya Topuria credit for beating Max. One of the reasons why Dustin Poirier is on this list to begin with is because he beat Max Holloway in 2019 in their rematch, right? And he, of course, beat Max Holloway way back in the day. But, like, Volk beat Max 3 times. 3 times. And
but he's also, again, just a stylistical nightmare for Max Holloway. Because he is also, I mean, you know, Max's advantages is cardio and volume. Volk can absolutely match the cardio. He can absolutely match the volume. He's quicker. He's a bit more fast twitch. He is stronger, better wrestler. I mean, he just, you know, but I get it. That's not really Lucas' style, but,
and
you know.
Dominance is very important on the GOAT list as well. He not only beat Max, he took 12 out of 15 rounds off of him, right? That's one of the best volume strikers in UFC history. And Volk doesn't have the pop that Topuria has, right? Volk schooled him. That is a little bit more impressive than beating DC, in my opinion. Again, DC's
it is way more impressive.
Jones
that is true. That's why, honestly, John Jones probably should be lower on the list if you're ranking this based on quality of wins. If your criteria was how many title defenses do you have, then obviously John's going to be, you know, probably the best. But if you're judging purely on quality of wins, John Jones, I don't think is ahead of pretty much anybody on this list. At least around this area right here.
And he had.
I mean, again, him and Habib should be far lower.
And do the Diddy boxing. But guys, listen. Ultimately, I just don't think you can be the GOAT over a guy that has that many all-time great wins. I just don't think you can. Holloway 3 times. Jose Aldo. I mean, even if you disagree with some of these placements, most people agree that Jose Aldo is a top 15 fighter of all time. Most people agree that Holloway is too, right? And I think DC is. But again, 4 versus 1. And then you're going to bring up quantity. Volk's got quantity too. You want to bring up the fact that Jones beat Glover Teixeira and Jones beat Alexander Gustafsson. By the way, just look at Gustafsson's record. It's actually kind of overrated. This guy lost to Verdum when Verdum was old. He moved up a weight class. He had the lighter man skill and he still lost. That's a very good point. This dude lost.
Look, Gus was very good, but, you know,
to Anthony Smith. Gustafsson has like a TKZ record, which is like a 7-6 type of record in the UFC. He was a good fighter, but like, you know, we don't get to compare Gustafsson to Max and Gustafsson to Aldo. And this is the thing. You want to talk about Jones's quantity? That's really what held him high for so long, in my opinion. But if you're looking at Volk, he continues to add on to it. Not only does he have wins over Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega, TKZ, Chad Mendez, Darren Elkins, when Darren Elkins was on a mean streak. Darren Elkins was on a 6-fight win streak. People forget, man. But he's also got a win over Diego Lopez. And that win was not just a win. Volkanovski became the only fighter in UFC history to win a title fight at the age of 35 and older. He was 36.
That was very impressive. And also just like the way he approached that fight against Diego Lopez was insane. Like, he just fucking bit down on his mouthpiece and fucking swung with him. That was insane. That was the approach that he chose for that fight.
Do that. The other one is Alexandre Pantoja, who's in the top 5 pound for pound right now, who everyone's ranting and raving about. Volkanovski's still here. He came off of 2 back-to-back brutal KO losses, took a year off, got a year older, came back and won against the killer in Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez was on an absolute mean streak. He hits like a truck. Okay, Volk has quantity, not as much quantity as Jones. Not as much quantity. Jones has more quantity, has so many wins.
Okay, and he keeps saying quantity, but again, I mean, I'm not going to go back, but like I wrote down his criteria. He never even said the word quantity. He never said He never said quantity on his 3 criterions. So I don't know why he's bringing it up now.
Shogun, Rampage Jackson, Bader, Teixeira, Lyoto Machida, Thiago Santos. There's just so many guys that he's beat, but ultimately he has a loss.
Oh, did
and
he?
That's
I might have missed it then. I guess that's my fault.
Islam Makhachev and Ilya
I missed
Taporia,
it
2 top 5 fighters all time. And I'm not just saying that because it makes Volk's resume look good. And Volk can only lose to fighters that are top 5. So I'm putting Islam
fair
top
enough,
5.
Wagler.
Islam has his own resume. It just so happens that like that's a guy that beat Volk, and he happens to be the fucking goat of the sport. That's right. Islam Makhachev is the goat of the sport. I think today John Jones lost to Dominic Reyes. That's worse than losing.
What the fuck happened there?
Makhachev is the goat of the sport. I think today John Jones lost to Dominic Reyes. That's worse than losing.
A wee editing mistake.
Is the goat of the
But yeah, I mean this is pretty. I mean, dude, even fighting like people forget, man. People forget. God, I'm starting to talk like Lucas. Beating Davi Ramos is pretty, like, I don't think Khabib has fought a stylistical matchup to the level of Davi Ramos. Oh, who's Joe? Thank you for the $5. I greatly appreciate it. Who's going to watch, was going to watch the video? I read comments saying Arman at 18. That is the most rage bait take to not rage bait. Yeah, a little bit. I do agree with you there. And I mean, I think his logic for having Arman where it was just doesn't hold up based on how he talked about other people further up on the list, as we talked about. Immortal Ho, thank you for another $5, buddy. I thank you. I appreciate it. Worst ranking is Jan, in my opinion. He has absolutely no business in the top 10. Quality of theoretical wins only counts for Jan because Lucas loves him. You know, yeah, for sure. That is what Lucas is sort of known for a wee bit. You know what I mean? Is he ranks certain people based on how much he loves them or doesn't love them. You know what I mean? For sure. Absolutely. I completely agree with you there. I have no rebuttal or no argument against that.
Sport. I think it's today John Jones lost to Dominic Reyes. That's worse than losing to Islam Makhachev in a close battle. The second fight with Makhachev, I'm sorry, I'm just hardly going to count that. Like, you just can't tell me that anyone in their right mind expected Volk to win that fight.
Look, nobody expected Volk to win that fight, but you cannot deny the fact that, look, again, right, look, here's the thing. If, let's just say, Volkanovski, ends up getting grapple fucked by Makhachev in the rematch. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, round 2 starts, and Volk starts breathing heavy, and he starts fucking, like, there's no pop on his shots, his footwork is gone, he ends up getting grapple fucked. You're going to sit there and you're going to say, well, clearly he took the fight on a week's notice, the cardio wasn't there, like, we literally just saw that, he was able to match Islam in the grappling prior, and now all of a sudden he can't. Okay, then you're going to not take this fight seriously. But Volk has always really, like, the approach that Islam had, Volk always struggles with, dude. Always. Like that, the southpaw, the teeps to the body kick, sneaking up the head kick. This is a problem that Volk has always had. And the fact that it happened in the very first round, to me, is kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a great look for Volkanovski. It wasn't that he gassed out. It wasn't that, it was a week's notice, he just wasn't prepared. In the very first round, he just got picked apart by this very specific technique that he wasn't prepared for. You know what I mean? You go back to their very first fight, Islam was not targeting the head kick in their first fight, but it was there. It was there. He even clipped him a couple times, slightly with the head kick. So, Samuel, thank you for the $2. Who's be higher on the GOAT list, Arman or Hamzat? Holy shit, Hamzat's not on this list. Why is Hamzat not here? Like, dude, he, you know what? Okay, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't deserve it, I guess. YPS anime, thank you for the $2.80. Ugly cried when I thought I lost you in Charles Bowl. Aw. I'm sorry I scared you that bad, man. I'm sorry. I'm back, though. I'm sorry.
And he shouldn't win that fight. He should never win that fight. Makhachev should beat Volkanovski in those conditions, with Volk coming off of the couch, coming off of the surgery. He should beat him 100 times.
I know, but it was in round 1, 2 minutes into the fucking fight, with a technique that we've seen Volk struggle with in the past.
of 100 times. Yes, knocking him out is nice, but like Volk cannot win that fight ever. No one in a pound for pound number one type of matchup is winning if they're coming off of the couch after not training for 2 months, coming off of an arm surgery. We're not really going to look too much into that. But at the end of the day, Volk's real losses to Poirier, who we see how good he is, and Islam Makhachev. And at the end of the day, listen, Volk actually took the challenge of moving up to fight a monster. Jones didn't fight Ngannou. Jones didn't fight Jan Blachowicz. Jones
That's a good
didn't
point,
give
though.
Dominic
I do
Reyes,
agree with what he's saying right there.
3 rounds to the rematch.
And you should also use this logic to fucking put Habib down here in the 11 to 15 ranking at a fucking minimum.
Jones didn't give Tom Aspinall a chance. Jones's win over Stipe Miocic means nothing in my opinion.
Oh yeah, Miz. That's another one. Thank you for the $2, Miz. Yeah, no Tom Aspinall either. That's actually, I didn't even realize till you said that. That's very interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Just doesn't.
There
it's
should
an
be.
exhibition
He should
match
be
as far as I'm concerned. The Gon win is decent. It absolutely is. I'm just saying it should have been Ngannou. Okay, but either way, I still think Gon beat Ngannou, so that's why I'm saying it's a decent win, and that's why I still think Jones, you can't just say, oh, his resume sucks. Jones's resume does objectively not suck. Gon was a decent one. I still think Gon beat Ngannou. He won 3 rounds to 2. Like, Volk losing...
I actually don't mind that take either. I don't mind that take either, to be fair.
2 top 5 all-time fighters, whereas Jones is losing to a guy that's not even making the list.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot. There's still 31 to 50. Thank you, Icebreaker. I forgot.
Guys. Jones has 1 top 15 win, and that's it. And yeah, Jones has a lot of quality, but at the end of the day, Shogun, Machida, like these guys were basically middleweights fighting him. They were fat middleweights, okay? And the skill level, I understand we're going to be fair to Jones because he was fighting back in the day and he was fighting who they could put in front of him, but it's a lot tougher to beat Diego Lopez than it was for John Jones to go out there and beat a guy like Anthony Smith or even Thiago Santos, okay? Jones in his early 30s, having a razor-close decision with Thiago Santos. Volkanovski, up until the Makhachev fight, had only lost 4 rounds in his entire career. I just think that Volk has been a little bit more dominant. Why do I have Makhachev ahead? Makhachev beat Volk when Volk was pound for pound number 1. There's something to be said about being the first guy to beat Volk when Volk had a full training camp, fully prepared. Training with Craig Jones, extra masks on him. He was ready to go. He was an absolute monster that night. Makhachev beat him.
Make your own GOAT list. Maybe we could do that on stream, maybe. I could make a GOAT list on stream.
I know it was close. I know it was competitive. But this was Volk coming off of the best win of his entire career against Max Holloway. And Islam Makhachev went out there and outstruck him. Very impressive. It was competitive, don't get me wrong, but Makhachev won that shit. I think that he beat Charles Oliveira at a better time than Topuria. Yes, Topuria did it in more impressive fashion, but Islam Makhachev still did it in impressive fashion. Clubbed him, subbed him. In 2 rounds. Schooled Charles on the feet, really. He was the guy to beat Charles and to end the Oliveira era, to end Oliveira's 11-fight win streak.
Yeah,
I think
for
that's
sure. I mean, I do think Islam really does fit the criteria perfectly here. You know what I mean? Like, the level of competition he's fought is crazy. He's fought extremely high-level wrestlers. He's fought, like, dude, the fact that he fought Volkanovski, who has relentless cardio, elite striking, world-class get-ups from the bottom. Like, dude, that is insane. That's insane that he did that.
Bit of a better time to beat him than Ilia Topuria in 2025, 3 years later, when Charles is slightly declined. I'm not saying Charles is old and washed. I'm just saying he's not at his pinnacle. Makhachev beat Volk.
It is impressive that he submitted Oliveira, but let's just be honest here before everybody calls this cope. He submitted him because he rocked him. You know what I mean? Let's just call a spade here.
At their absolute pinnacle. Now, I do think Topuria...
Wappy_15, thank you for the $2. GOAT list on Stream Fund, thank you. I appreciate it, Wappy. Yeah, no, that's something we can do.
Beat a guy in Volkanovski when Volkanovski was really good. I think that the whole short notice thing, Volk actually looked good in that fight. He looked fast, he looked to be in great shape, and he actually won round 1. Eventually, he was going to get caught, and at this point, it's clear that given what we know about Topuria's power, that power is knocking out Volkanovski if Volkanovski had never been KO'd before, okay? And not only does he have that, he has the Dustin Poirier win. And I know Dustin's talking about retirement, and therefore people say, oh, Dustin's kind of old, but Dustin's like the youngest guy to ever be talking about retirement. Let's be honest, he's like 35. And Islam Makhachev beat him. A good version of Dustin.
Why is DC a weak win, though? I just think based on current day modern MMA, I don't think Daniel Cormier is that well-rounded. I think that his cardio was really poor. I think that Daniel Cormier's wrestling threat was really only there the first 7 minutes of a fight, and then it was gone. Really bad jiu-jitsu. I think his boxing was good. I don't think he's a bad win. I just don't think, like, people look at Daniel Cormier, they're like, oh, that's an elite win right there. I'm like, well, for the time, maybe. But, like, I don't think he really holds a candle to, like, modern day, like, well-rounded mixed martial artist the same way. Again, he was a very good boxer, very good wrestler, but even then, if Daniel Cormier could keep up the wrestling pace over 5 rounds, okay. All right. And look, I bet Daniel Cormier could have done that if he transitioned to MMA earlier, but he came into the sport so late. When Daniel Cormier was at his peak skill-wise, he was like fucking 37 years old. You know what I mean? If Daniel started MMA earlier, I think he would have ended up being a lot better, but...
Dustin coming off of a win. Makhachev also has a lot of quantity. Arman Sarukian, that win has aged really well. Dan Hooker, he ran through Dan Hooker.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. I do hold. Look, matchup Yuri Prohashka and Daniel Cormier. Round 1, Daniel Cormier is going to get to the high crotch. He's going to flip Yuri over his head, and he's just going to lay on Yuri that very first round. I think if he doesn't hit a takedown 2 minutes into round 2, that's it. He's not going to wrestle anymore. Go back and look at the Alexander Gustafsson fight. Go back and look at every single Stipe Miocic fight. Daniel Cormier wouldn't wrestle past round 1. He would just choose to strike with you because his cardio, he was an old man by the time he was at his peak skill-wise. And I think Yuri in a 5-round fight would end up piecing him up and knocking him out. That's just what would happen. And if Daniel, at the age of 21, transitioned to MMA, I think it'd be a very different story, but unfortunately, that's not how it played out for him.
It's not Chimaev style. He's got wins over Renato Moicano, Bobby Green, Thiago Moises, Davey Ramos, Nick Lentz, Gleison Tebow, Drew Dober. We're talking about a guy who has a record of 16-1. This guy is 1 win shy of tying Anderson Silva's legendary record.
Pereira would beat Daniel Cormier, yes, for the exact same reason I gave for the Yuri fight. Round 1, he's flipping Alex over his head and getting a lot of control time. If he doesn't hit a takedown within the first 2 minutes of round 2, Alex is going to start piecing him up. And even then, Alex's takedown defense against Ankalaev was really good, dude. Again, I really want to make a whole video about this. I'm just waiting for Ankalaev to get a fight announcement. Dude, there were moments in that fight, again, I have a whole video ready to go. Dude, Ankalaev was like fucking getting to the hips on Pereira, like getting really deep on shots. And Pereira did such a good job getting his hips back, getting the lock over his hips. It was legitimately really good takedown defense.
But he's doing it in the modern era in the lightweight division. One of the toughest, most stacked divisions in UFC history, against pound-for-pound fighters. Like Khabib beat Conor, Gaethje, and Poirier. Okay, he beat Poirier too, but he beat Volk. He beat Charles Oliveira. He has that win over Arman Sarukian. That's better than RDA. Okay, people talk about RDA. Dude, Arman Sarukian's a much better win. And ultimately...
I agree. I mean, look, RDA got armbarred twice in one night by Cowboy Cerrone, dude.
The reason why I think Makhachev, at this point, you can make an argument that he's the GOAT, is he has the perfect combination of ratio of wins to losses. 16-1 record in the UFC. Only lost once when he was a tadpole. I'll take that with a grain of salt. I know Ilya Topuria...
Damn, he sure ranks 31 to 50 pretty quick, then, doesn't he? We only have 3 minutes left.
Volk was already a top 10 all-time fighter.
All right.
Even though Chandler was old, like, he still got the win.
All right, give me 31 to 50 now.
We may as well do that now. Glover, Matt Hughes. I'm going to say Shogun. I'm going to say Yoel Romero. I'm going to say...
Okay, he's literally just doing this off the top of his head now.
I'm going to say Ngannou, McGregor, Corey Sandhagen, Henderson, T. Ferg, Tony, Vitor Belfort, JDS. I'm putting JDS in the mix as well, guys. I'll even say Leon Edwards, okay? He beat Usman twice. That's got to at least put you near the 50 spot, right? Woodley, I got Woodley there. Woodley has a couple of decent wins. BJ Penn, I'm putting BJ there. I'm putting Chris Weidman there. I am also going to put Mousasi in the mix as well. I think Gegard Mousasi is pretty good resume.
Where's Tom Aspinall?
Strickland beat Adesanya. I honestly think Strickland is a better resume than TJ Dillashaw, guys. Like, hear me out, okay? TJ Dillashaw has wins over Barao and people...
I mean, here's the thing, guys. The truth is, because I'll do my own GOAT list on stream. We can do that. Here's the thing, though, right? Here's the thing. I'm not going to do a GOAT list because, again, GOAT list, it's so subjective, and it matters what your personal criteria is. For my GOAT list, like what my personal criteria would be for greatest of all time, number 1 to me is Conor McGregor. Like, he is the greatest fighter Greatness, you know what I mean? I think it would be much more interesting, though, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do the best of all time. That's how I would do it. Best of all time. Who are the best fighters of all time? And I would want to judge it personally just based on fucking skill. Who is the best? But if we're talking purely greatness, like how great are you? Well, you have to look at the guy that is literally bigger than the sport itself. You know what I mean? You're going to have Conor McGregor. In that case, Khabib would be probably top 5 as well, because we're looking at greatest. You know what I mean? Like, again, I go back, right? Who is the best skateboarder of all time? I have no idea. Who's the greatest skateboarder of all time? Tony Hawk. Like, I don't think Tony Hawk is the best skateboarder who's ever lived, but he's the greatest. You know, he's fucking, like, Tony Hawk is almost as big as skateboarding is in general. So I think when you're looking at greatness, I think it's a very different list than who is the best. So if I were to do the list, I'm going to say who's the best. You know what I mean? So Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Then yeah, I mean, I've always personally said I think LeBron James is the best basketball player ever. Michael Jordan's the greatest. You know what I mean? But I think LeBron's the best. I don't think anyone was better than LeBron, you know? So I think that's kind of what I would want to rank it. Who's the best? Who is just plain and simply, who is the best fighter ever? You know what I mean? Greatest are icons. Greatest is like, who's your Mount Rushmore? Who are the people that transcended the sport? It doesn't really have that much to do with skill or resume when you're looking at greatness. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel about it. Oh, man. I don't know about that, John Wings. I mean, Michael Jordan couldn't shoot threes, bro. Like, Michael Jordan literally couldn't shoot threes. Because back when he played, it was a different time. You didn't need to be that good of a shooter like LeBron. Like, LeBron is just way more well-rounded. LeBron could do everything, you know what I mean? Who would you put at number 1, Shea? Where would Merab go? I mean, if I were judging this based on Lucas's own criteria, Islam, I think, is number 1. I'm going to say Merab is number 2 if we're looking at quality. I'm going to say GSP. I'm going to say Volk. I don't know. I really want to, like, I need to compare their, like, I need to look at their records, like right in front of me to be 100% certain. And then I guess I could put, like, Volk at number 5, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I might change that a little bit, but yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, R. Gonzalo. Like, literally, LeBron James could do every single aspect of basketball. Like, he was so fucking well-rounded. I don't think Michael Jordan was the same. You know? But, dude, this was fun. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. Like, when Lucas does something like this, I feel like it's fucking Christmas morning. I don't think LeBron can't shoot free throws. He wasn't the best free throw shooter, but Jordan was definitely a better scorer and defender, but, like, it's not like LeBron can't score or can't defend, but he is better in those two specific areas. Yeah, LeBron, dude, it was insane. His 2018 run was fucking wild. Well, Craner, I think that the Justin Gaethje fight was just a legit loss, skill for skill, and then I think every loss after that was him being kind of washed. But even then, though, it's like, again, dude, I don't think it matters whether or not Tony's in his prime or not. Like, Charles Oliveira is going to be 1,000 times more technical than him on the ground. Like, and that's just a fact. Like LeBron just wasn't a fucking... He just wasn't a fucking... Again, he kind of just lacked fundamentals on the ground. He was just spazzy and strong and athletic and relentless. But, like, skill for skill, Oliveira was always going to fucking punk him in the grappling. Always. LeBron has us thinking that 8 finals appearances in a row was normal. I mean, dude, to me, like, the reason why LeBron's the best is just because of how hard people try to discredit everything he's accomplished. Oh, I meant to say Tony, not LeBron. I meant to say Tony, not LeBron. I meant to say Tony. True, LeBron had no submission game. Yeah. Well, what can I say? Could you sub LeBron? I probably could. Yes, I probably could sub LeBron if we grappled. I could definitely sub LeBron. I'll tell you what though, I'm gonna pull guard against LeBron James. If I had to take LeBron down, I'm going for like a low single leg and just trying to run the pipe on him. But like, I would be very scared of getting picked up and slammed. Love to debate you on that LeBron and MJ in Discord. I mean, Tyson Tom, we could do that, I guess. That could be just, dude, wait for another viewer debate stream. We'll do that at some point. Robert Stowe, thank you for the $3 Australian. Shay, please invite me to Discord. Tyler, you're up, buddy. Let's get Lobster Equality in the Discord. He is a member. B-ball player who you think would be a good MMA fighter? I mean, dude, the truth is, Gonzalo, take any, take almost any NBA player and have them start training MMA at a young age. It's going to ruin, the sport's over, dude. The sport's over. Like, if LeBron James at 18 decided to get into fighting, I'm sorry, everybody's fucked. Like, the level of athlete is just completely incomparable. If LeBron James dedicated his life at the age of 18 to fighting, the sport is over, dude. I'm sorry. The sport's over. He'd be a fucking 6'8", 265-pound heavyweight. Could probably fucking standing jump out of the octagon if he wanted to. He's gonna be stronger, faster than anybody else. Again, he would have had to have started training at a younger age. But no way, dude. If LeBron dedicated his life to fighting, and that's all he did was wrestle and strike and grapple and had world-class coaches, dude, the sport's over. I'm sorry, nobody's beating him. I mean, yeah, Lagler, yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at John Jones, he's not that athletic. He is for MMA standards, but it's just not the same in any other sport. You guys think Lesnar was scary? Imagine LeBron. I mean, exactly, Tyson Tom. Exactly. I mean, and again, though, very, very key difference there. Take a fucking, 30-year-old LeBron James and train him in MMA for a few years. He could probably beat some fucking blobs, maybe. But, obviously, he's not beating Tom Aspinall. I'm saying 18-year-old young LeBron James completely dedicates his entire life to the sport of mixed martial arts. I think that's game over for most people. Probably get dropped by a jab. I mean, theoretically, if he was running into a jab like Johnny Walker, maybe. But, the idea is that he's dedicated his life to the sport and develops really good striking and really good wrestling and good grappling. You know what I mean? Yeah, but mentality is also the thing. I don't know if LeBron could do it. I don't know about that, man. Look, dude, LeBron James is a winner, dude. He is a winner. You know, I don't want to drop like some Stephen A. Smith isms, but like, you know, to be, at the top of the NBA for that long takes work ethic and discipline and a will to win. If he completely dedicated, like again, like I think it's easy to kind of think into your head like LeBron James as a basketball player in MMA. No, I'm saying if he dedicated his life to the sport of fighting from the age of 18, there you go, dude. He would become a fighter if he dedicated his life to it. From a young age, he would be a fighter. He could easily do that. You think Shaq could make 265? Probably not. I don't think so. Like LeBron, Shaq at his peak was fucking 340 pounds. Yeah, I mean Westbrook's not. Yeah, dude, imagine Russell Westbrook at 185. That is That's scary. He'd be a 6'5", 185er. He would be the greatest athlete the sport of MMA has ever seen. Birdie, thank you for the 10 PLN. Someone like Wilt Chamberlain in MMA would be scary. I mean, theoretically, yes. Just at a certain point, being too tall could kind of be a problem. But yeah, yeah, for sure. Russell Westbrook is not 6'2". What the fuck are you talking about? He's not 6'2". He's not 6'2". What's the best height for a heavyweight? I mean, I think anywhere between like, I think even Stephen Struve had success at 7 foot. But, you know, I think anywhere between like 6'4" and 6'7", probably around that range. Maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, you can get away with it. I think LeBron at 6'8" would be a serious fucking problem. I mean, I don't know, Laglager. I mean, maybe. Part of me would like to think that Kobe and Michael Jordan would be smart enough to understand in the training room to not. I think they would be smart enough to not allow. First of all, I think it would be hard if they had dedicated their lives to training MMA for a long time. I think they would be good enough to probably avoid Kimuras and also smart enough to know you have to tap to a fucking Kimura. Like, I don't think that's a normal thing in training. I've never encountered somebody who eats a Kimura. I've never encountered somebody in all my years of training. Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, you just know not to do that. Like, if somebody fucking gets a Kimura behind your back, they're sitting on your fucking face. I don't know, man. Oh, I meant in a fight? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. You'd have to get them there, though. Yeah, rocket powered Jezza. I don't know about that, man. I disagree. I don't think so. But, you know. Yeah, Rob Gronkowski. That's another one. That would be a tough one. Yeah, I mean, it's not even that a Kimura hurts. It's like, dude, you don't tap to a Kimura. You're talking spiral fracture of your shoulder. Like, that's like such a nasty injury that you just will never fully come back from. Like, you just don't do that. Nobody does that. Birdie, thank you for the 10 PLN. Why is there a weight limit for heavyweight fighters? Part of me does feel like there shouldn't be a weight limit, but dude, we already have a blob epidemic in the UFC heavyweight division. We have a blob epidemic. Can you imagine if there was no weight class? We would have some fucking fat, diabetic 300-pound motherfuckers waltzing into the octagon, gassing out 3 minutes in. The fact that you have to be 265 at least makes some of these guys have to be in shape. Somewhat. You know what I mean? We would have some fucking mega. You'd have to roll these motherfuckers into the octagon. You'd have to have a goddamn forklift to bring them into the octagon. Dude, imagine how fucking fat Shamil Gaziev would be. You know what, Jim? That's actually not a terrible shout, dude. That's not a terrible shout, to be fair. It's not a terrible shout. I mean, if you're over 20% body fat, it's like, fuck, dude. Like, that is just so insane. But, Aaron, what the fuck would, like, what? Obviously, I think you're not going to find a 250-pound woman, really. So, like, what would a women's heavyweight division be? I mean, I know fucking, I guess, like, a prime Gabby Garcia, maybe, can get up to 250. But, like, I just don't think you're going to find a women. Like, let's look at, like, a women's shock put. How heavy do those chicks get? Like, how much do you think Brock Lesnar's daughter weighs? Women's shock put. I don't know how you spell shock. Oh, it's shot put. Oh.
Eugene, Oregon.
Is this the Olympics? They're gonna fucking copyright
USA, the World Athletic Championships. Ely, the American.
All right, these are some big fucking women now that I look at it.
Here's Ely's chance to.
These are some big fucking women right here. These are some meaty women. Fuck, you know what, dude? I would love to see a bunch of chicks like this fighting. That would be crazy. That would be cool. That actually would be sick. That would be sick. So do you think that hitting the bag in the gym as an absolute amateur builds poor muscle memory and makes it harder to get the proper skills once you start actually training? You definitely can, yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to work on the technique. Like, I would say if you're a brand new fighter, like, learn how to, like, just watch YouTube videos, how to throw, like, a jab, how to throw a right hand, and, like, really practice the proper technique. Because, yeah, if you just spend all your time fucking... and you do that a lot, it's going to be really hard to train that out of you. Shay O'Malley grappled with Gabby and said she feels like a fat girl, no strength. When did that happen? I don't believe that. Sean O'Malley grappled with Gabby Garcia? Really? When? But also, though, Gabby is not on the same steroid regimen she used to be. Like prime Gabby Garcia here. We'll find a photo of her. Who the fuck are these people? Like, look, there is a huge difference. There is a huge difference between the Gabby Garcia that had the match with Craig Jones compared to this Gabby Garcia right here. Look at the shoulders and the biceps. Like, Gabby was not that toned here. I mean, she's way older now. She's not on the same steroid regimen. Like, okay, yeah, this right here. Look at this. Like you just, like, see she doesn't have the same muscle definition here at all that she had here. Like, this is different. This is different. Look at this. Look at that. That's insane. That is insane. Aaron T, thank you for the $2. Thoughts on heavyweight fights at 3-minute rounds? You know, I actually really don't mind that. That actually might be a lot better. Or heavyweight fighters just fucking get good. You know what I mean? Or heavyweight fighters just get good. That's what I say. God, look at those legs. Look at the biceps and the shoulders and the fucking traps. I didn't know women could build traps like this. But yeah, and then just look at her here. Like, you can tell. It's just not. Look, Craig is trying to fucking hit her with a twister. That's so mean. Like look at her thighs here. And look at her thighs here. She's just older and not blasting gear the same way. That's it. Search women's sumo wrestling. I've never thought to look that up, but I am very curious. I've never looked this up before, and I don't know why I've never thought to look this up. God damn! These are some fucking women right here. I want to see them in action. Wait, is she doing like judo right there? These women are smaller. These women are way smaller. Let me see. Women, I want to see the boulders go after it. Okay, this is what we're waiting for. Boy, look at these fucking women. Jesus! Look at that!
Imagine something that all of the competitors can enter. Con is very quick. Now, how do you get Jaromka? How do you deal with that? Oh, that's how
damn!
You do it.
Well, this girl's so just way bigger. Look at that!
She's so powerful, but Con actually managed to fool or even con Jaromka.
Look at that! That's crazy. Man, that's wild. That's insane. That is insane. Superman's getting great reviews. Oh, is the Rotten Tomatoes out yet? Please. Really? Let me see. It's 86%! Dude, that is so... I'm so hyped. You guys might not know this, but I was so scared this movie was going to suck. I was so scared this movie was going to suck. This is great. It's certified fresh. It's certified fresh. I mean, look, Rotten Tomatoes is a joke most of the time, but, you know, all right, Nick Shager. Nick Shager is such a hater, dude. A would-be franchise restart that resembles a Saturday morning cartoon come to overstuff health. But that is where Superman's at his best. This guy just doesn't understand the character. Well, that's cool. I'm really glad to hear that. I'm really, really glad to hear that. We need a Batman versus Superman rematch. Yeah, I do have a lot of problems with that Batman v Superman movie. There are elements of that movie that I really liked, but doesn't mean much. Maybe not, but I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. Goofy Goober, thank you for the 5 pounds. Rewatch your DDP versus Boris vid, and you can't be definitive about Hamzat's stand-up. One-shot KO power when fresh in 20 pay-per-views since we saw him strike. Yeah, for sure. And again, that video definitely needs we need to revisit that video for sure. We will definitely revisit that topic, and I'll get into a lot more specifics for sure. Like, definitely. Like, definitely. But yeah, I mean, I agree. But I think it's gonna be hard to make a solid argument that Hamzat's gonna be a better striker than DDP. I really think that Hamzat striking offensively is very dangerous, but I think defensively he's shown a lot of holes, man. He's shown a lot of holes, a lot of big gaping holes for sure. A lot of big gaping holes. We need a super juiced up Batman this time. Look, guys, in all seriousness here, right? Because let's be real, everybody loves, especially in movie form, everybody loves a super realistic Batman. Everybody loves a super real world Batman. Dude, the truth is, if Batman was real, he would not be natty. Batman would not be natty. Batman would not be natural. Like, right? Like, Batman would be on gear. Like, why wouldn't he? Batman doesn't care about his well-being. He cares about being the absolute best fucking version of a crime fighter there is. He's a regular human. He would definitely be on steroids. He'd probably create his own steroids. Yeah, that would boost his recovery. That would boost his stamina. That would boost everything about him. Like, why would he not do that? He literally has injected adrenaline, basically. Yeah, he did that. He did that in the last movie. He did. I mean, yeah, I'm right. Batman would be on PEDs. With how much money he has, the steroids wouldn't even hurt his health. Yeah, I'm like, Batman would be smart enough to know. He'd be taking the right amount. He'd be doing his blood work. You know what I mean? Like, he would be, But I mean, in the comics, Batman is definitely... There's been times, like, he's used Bane's venom. Look at John Paul with the comic book knowledge. That's what I was just referring to, was that comic run in the 70s when he was on Bane's Venom. That's what I was just saying. Every single martial art, LOL, he for sure would need gear. The truth is, though, it's like Batman, some of these martial arts you don't really need to know. You don't really need to know Kung Fu. You know what I mean? You don't really need to, you know what I mean? Not really. Batman and MMA, it wouldn't be close. Batman would fucking destroy. I mean, Batman would fucking... Yeah, throw him in the heavyweight division, he would fucking... He would be the greatest fighter of all time. Nobody stands up to Batman. I'll tell you what, I've said this before, I was very disappointed because... it was a thing like Robert Pattinson trained jiu-jitsu for a good while in preparation for the Batman movie. And I was like, oh, nice. Like, we're going to see some because in the movie John Wick, he does a lot of judo. He'll do primarily he uses more judo than anything else. John Wick. But I was like, damn, we get to see Batman use some fucking grappling? Damn, all right. Yeah, there was not a second of jiu-jitsu in that movie, I will say. There was not a second of jiu-jitsu in the Batman movie. Not that I was expecting it, but if you're gonna, I wouldn't have expected it otherwise. But he trained jiu-jitsu for the movie. Think jiu-jitsu is underrepresented in movies? I mean, for the most part, kind of. For the most part, kind of. I mean, dude, they did some jiu-jitsu in the fucking Roadhouse movie, and it was kind of sick. They did, some real jiu-jitsu in the Roadhouse movie. I want Batman to pull guard and do a reverse De La Riva back take. It's so funny you say that, Minecraft and Sham. I've been working on a lot of reverse De La Riva back takes recently. I mean, look, I don't need Batman to fucking pull guard, but it would be cool to see him fucking hit a foot sweep or something, or maybe an arm drag and then pick the guy up and slam him or something. Just give me a little something. I mean, dude, honestly, Jim, that's the one thing I praise the Roadhouse movie for, is they actually did use a lot more, realistic fighting in that movie, for the most part. Of course, there were a few sequences here or there where it's oh, that's not a real fighting move. But, there was a lot of, real sequences in that Roadhouse movie that I liked. And Nolan's Batman did some throws, but it was very unrealistic. You know what I like? You know what I like about Nolan's Batman, though? The way that he fought was that, like, you know, when the Ben Affleck Batman is fighting, like, a crowd of people, the Ben Affleck Batman is, like, in the fucking Matrix, and he's, like, fucking slipping, and, like, and nobody can touch him, and he's just, like, fucking flying through the air, you know what I mean? But he's, like, he's a very comic book version of Batman. But I like how the Nolan Batman would fight in those scenes was very realistic. Because, like, the Nolan Batman is, like, surrounded by guys trying to fucking, like, gang up on him. And he's covering up, and he's, like, elbowing and kneeing and headbutting. And I'm like, that is how you would realistically fight a group of people. You know what I mean? You'd cover up, and you would be, you know, you're not throwing punches and bobbing and weaving. You're just fucking elbow, knee, headbutt. You know what I mean? Tyson Tom, thank you for the $2. Does your mods filter comments so you don't see some? I don't think so. I mean, the mods just get rid of spam and people being weirdos sometimes too. But no. Yeah, Bane punching the wall, though, was yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was a little less realistic, maybe. Nolan movies were great, except for the third one. I mean, look, I don't think the third one was bad, but it was a bit of a step down. It was definitely a bit of a step down from the prior two, but I still don't think it was bad. Yeah, those Nolan Batman movies were different. I mean, dude, the Nolan Batman movies were, like, so philosophical. They were so philosophical, which is kind of crazy. I remember showing my ex-girlfriend those movies at the time. And we're watching Batman Begins, and she's like, isn't this supposed to be a fucking superhero movie? Like, this is so, like, deep. Which it was, because it's, like, a very deep philosophical movie. I never saw Joker 2, thank God. And I'm going to keep it that way. I liked the first one, kind of. John Paul, you misspelled philosophical so badly that, like, I can't even take you seriously. Man. That is fair, Jim. That is fair. That is fair. That is fair. That is fair. I don't speak any other language, so, you know, I guess I can't be too mad. Well, John Paul, you gotta understand though, John Paul. It's a little humorous for you to make fun of me calling something philosophical, but then you just botch the spelling of the word really bad. You know, it's a little ironic. You can't deny. It's just humorous, is all. It's just humorous. What's the philosophical message in the Batman Begins? Well, I'm glad you asked. I mean, the big one that I liked so much was when Batman, I mean, the whole point of that movie is the fact that the entire reason why Bruce Wayne needs to be Batman is because that's the whole point, is he's saying, like, as a man, I'm corruptible. As a man, they can tear me down. But as a symbol, I can be, what's the word for it? As a symbol, that's the, You know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. I'm blanking on the wordage, on proper wordage there. But, I like that whole message. You know what I mean? As a symbol, he can stand for more. He can go on forever. You know what I mean? I like that little thing. Thank you, Aaron. I know. I'm one with vocabulary, as they say. I'm one with vocabulary. Alrighty, guys. We've been going for 3 hours. It's been a pretty long stream compared to our recent ones. It's been a pretty long stream. I'm going to get the fuck out of here. I'm a wee bit tired, but I had a great stream today. Today was a lot of fun. I had a really good stream. I really appreciate all you guys coming. We'll see, you know what I mean? I really wanted to put out a video, but the video I spent all day researching, I just don't think we're ready to put out yet. I got to wait for an announcement to come out first. So we'll see. Maybe tomorrow will be my boat list. Maybe. Or maybe I'll come up with another video idea. I don't know. We'll see. But